नमस्कार.
नमस्कार. शेगावकर सर is
Shegaonkar sir join, sir.
Okay. Sir, नमस्कार.
I think we can start the session. Panelists are joining, and there is some flexibility also because it is a 2-hour-long session. The panelists will join as per, to some extent, as per their convenience. Yeah, Pancha sir joins. Welcome, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
So, good afternoon to all. Myself, Professor Uday Dabde, in charge director of Walchand College of Engineering, Sangli. I welcome all the panelists present here for today's discussion webinar on NEP 2020. As per the list provided by Professor Marathe, we invited Shegaonkar sir, Nandavdekar sir, Panchal sir, Manta sir, Khole sir, as well as Vinay Kulkarni and Sushma Kulkarni, VC Nikmar. Apart from this, Professor Oji Kakade sir is also there. He will join later. Then we invited Pratap Desai, who is the chairman IST New Delhi. They will join in short time duration. So also we invited Hemant Abenkar sir. Then Professor G.D. Yadav is also going to join for this webinar. So with this invitation, once again, I welcome all the members who present here and those who are going to join later. Now I request Professor Marathe to continue with the session, please. Yeah.
Welcome, Mr. Yadav sir joined, sir. Since Professor Sushma Kulkarni madam has to leave early, she is Vice Chancellor of NICMAR, that no need for introduction, all panelists are very much renowned. So we start with her first presentation. Over to madam.
Sir, can you please give me share screen?
Yeah, you can share, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah. Can you see the screen?
Yes,
Yes.
Yeah. So since I'm the first speaker, I'll just give you an overview and some thought process on how to implement, because now that all of us have started implementing NEP in our university or institute, every day we face challenges that how to do it, because we are so used to doing it in a particular way that we have to think in a different way when we are implementing. So what is NEP and why it is needed? Of course, the main two notable observations from Supreme Court of India were that today's education has failed to reform the human behavior, because we have highly educated people, but then when you see them at a signal point, we try to, cross the signal, or we just don't respect the rules. So that human behavior is not modified through our education. Then with increase in literacy level, there is decline in human values in the society. So this is now and then each one of us keeps speaking that it was not like this 10 years ago, and the things have really changed in terms of values in the society. So hence the call for transformation in education system. The Union Cabinet in July 2020 approved the National Education Policy, which aims at universalization of education from preschool to the secondary level. So with this objective, very good afternoon to all of you and all the esteemed panel members and dear participants. We are here today to discuss that NEP policy is given to us, and as administrators, as head of institute, as faculty, it's in our hands that how we can implement and make the best use of it. So coming to the overview, just to start with, the vision of NEP is that it should be India-centered education system to transform our nation sustainably into a country which is a knowledge society, and of course by providing quality education to all. We all know that 1986 National Education Policy was declared. After that, some modification in 92, and then Right to Education in 2009. The focus was access and equity, availability and fairness to all. Now we have moved to the NEP 2020. The focus is quality education, which is both at school level and the higher education level. Some of the highlights of the 2020 are that we want to increase the gross enrollment ratio by 2030. And so this increase, the raises in GER in higher education should be up to 50% by 2025. This also NEP 2020 also wants to bring 2 crore out of school children back into the mainstream. The 10+2 structure of school curricula is to be replaced by a 5+3+3+4 curricular structure corresponding to the ages. So the formal education starts from the age of 3 onwards. And a lot of focus is given because it is believed that in the early years, the brain development of the children is very fast. So first 6 years, if you can develop a child in the thought process, in behavioral way, so all encompassing development of a child takes place in the early age, and that's why there is a focus in the early age education. Like if you see a small child, maybe just 6 months old or 8 months old, and if you go to someone's house, and of course we all love kids, so when you try to take that kid towards you, you see there is a resistance. So a small child of 6 months or 8 months also analyzes the face, recognizes the face, and takes a decision. Okay, this is a new person whom I really don't know, and I should not be with this new person. You can see that resistance in a small child. So a small child analyzes, a small child thinks, takes a decision on its own, and we have to develop that brain capability over the years. So that's why the early age school education, I think, is a very brilliant shift. And you can see in this column how the education at school level is going to work. So there is going to be foundation stage 5, which is multi-level, and it will be play activity based learning. Okay, up to class 2, it will be all play and activity based learning. So till 2nd standard, there will be no exams. That is what they're saying. It is only activity based play learning. Then when they move to next class from 3 to 5, it is going to be preparatory stage where they will play, discovery and activity based and interactive classroom learning. You can see the shift, like the way we learned when we were in school, from the rote learning to more of playing, doing, enjoying that learning, that has more focus. Then middle stage is experiential learning in science, mathematics, arts, social sciences, and humanities. Then you go to the secondary stage 4, where multidisciplinary study, greater critical thinking, flexibility, and student choices of subject. So it is introduced in the secondary stage itself. And this new pedagogical and curricular structure of school education, 5+3+3+4, and this includes 3 years in Anganwadi, preschool, and 12 years in the formal school structure. I think this schooling, if this structure improves, we will have sensitive citizens created, because when the students come for higher education after their 12 years of schooling, the higher education is in fact processing those brains which are already developed for 18 years, right? And if this development in the school has a great focus, if the pedagogy, if the teachers are trained accordingly, and very important point is, if the parents' mindset is also aligned to this way of thinking, where the critical thinking, where the reflection on certain points, where the innovation or the creativity which a child shows is given more importance rather than just the marks. And in our school education system or higher education system, we will all agree that at present, it is more of Bloom's taxonomy level 1 and 2. We are more on knowledge level, more on understanding, more on awareness or define things. Very few questions in our exam system are application, analysis, evaluation. Okay, so that's why what happens is whatever gets measured gets done. So students focus more on those skill sets which will get them marks. And it turns out that we are not encouraging the creativity, though we talk a lot. The industry also says we want creative brains. But somehow in the education system, the focus is shifted. And if the new education policy is followed in the real sense, it is mentioned here, I think it will bring a sea change. in the society. Then this higher education, this was about the school education. For undergrad degrees, the structure will be available for 3 years and 4 years. So if it is 3 years, you will get the bachelor's degree. Now, even the new UGC draft proposal, it is draft proposal. It says you can now offer BS and MS degrees also, Master of Science and Bachelor of Science degrees, and it can be, so there is a multiple scope of designing your curriculum in such a way that it is in real sense multidisciplinary. Okay, the word multidisciplinary is really difficult to implement when you start designing the courses, because it has to be balanced in such a way that the student really gets into the total picture of that multidisciplinarity. The second challenge which comes is, once you design the curriculum, is to appoint the faculty. Like, for example, we have civil engineering program, and if we want that I want to teach them something regarding the human behavior and psychology, or if I want to teach them biology, so it immediately comes that we need an expert in that area. Okay, so multidisciplinary involves appointment of different faculty teachers also. And then again, we have to change our norms, that whether this appointment is possible or not, under which category we can take them, so those rules, regulations, norms come into picture. So I think that all that changes will come over a period of time. Then the higher educational institutes now will have option of offering 1-year master's degree under the NEP 2020. Again, it goes as 4+1. If you take honors degree, 3 years will be bachelor's, 4th year will be honors, bachelor with honors, and then 5th year will be master's degree. Then government to discontinue MPhil, so that MPhil program will be discontinued. And very important is there is no hard separation between arts and sciences, between curricular and extracurricular activities, between vocational and academic streams, etc., to eliminate harmful hierarchies among and silos between different areas of learning. So this is very important. As I said, the way we have been taught, or the way I have taken education, I think in verticals. No, you are an arts graduate, you can't do this. You are a commerce graduate, you should not think of this. So that is the way we have been thinking for a long period now. And the new concept is really great, because in real life, we see all problems are a combination of everything. If you want to take up a civil project, it is going to impact the community. So you have to do social cost benefit analysis also, isn't it? So everything is to be seen together, because it's going to impact the society nearby. You have to do a lot of related studies. It will impact the economy. You have to do economical study. So real life is all combined. It's not in silos of any engineering or anything else. And then this undergraduate structure, as I said, will be available for 3 and 4 years. There will be academic bank of credits, which will go on gathering the credits which the student earns right from the preschool to the level 8, which is the highest level. These are some of the skills which the teachers should encourage in the classroom. We all talk about a lot: digital literacy, problem solving, communication, creativity. But all of us know as teachers that if we have to really develop these skill sets, if I have to develop scientific temper, how do I do it? So it has to be application brain, which has to be brought forward. The ethics, we all talk a lot about ethics, but how to inculcate ethics in your education process. So NEP has made a provision, and I think we have all the flexibility to design our systems, introduce our curriculum, use the pedagogy, so that these skill sets are introduced. Coming to National Credit Framework, I'll just go do it in brief. That these multiple entry, exit, or flexible curricular structures, then students can choose learning trajectories and programs. There can be midway course correction, multidisciplinary, holistic education. So all these are very important provisions which has been provided by NEP. No differentiation between general and vocational education, because the way we look at skills, the way we look at vocation, there is a social stigma attached to it, and that has to be removed, because everyone has a dignity of work. Whatever work you are performing, it has to have a dignity. So dignity of work has to be preserved and conserved. I think that provision NEP has beautifully made. We have to make use of it. internationalization of education, international equivalence. So, global tie-ups, giving exposure to our students, what is going across the world and what you need to do in your own country. So all that exposure is really going to create broad vision for our own graduates. Then extensive use of technology so that there is access for education to everyone. Removing language barriers. This is another very important thing which has been introduced, So the language should not become a barrier for learning to any child. So this is the credit framework, the 3-dimension credit assignment. So we were all measuring in terms of skill axis and the academic axis. See, as you move from the preschool to the PhD. And here the skill axis as you gain the skill level from 1 to 8. And here you can see how you move ahead from the preschool education to the PhD level, how you move ahead, how you go on adding your credits in the National Bank of Credits. But the third dimension which is introduced, Z dimension, which we are not thinking, is the experiential learning proficiency axis. And excuse me. So as you go on adding this expertise with 1 year, 1 to 4 year, 4 to 7 years, excuse me. So this proficiency axis has been added, and so along with your regular education, you can always take this experiential learning proficiency courses. So very beautifully designed here. Again, the major components of the learning outcomes in school education, technical education, or the skilling, whatever it is, the 4 verticals have been introduced. One is the knowledge, another is skills, third is professional learning, and fourth is the aptitude. And I think for engineering, it is so relevant because the logical ability, logical reasoning, verbal ability, personality traits, how do we introduce all this in our students? Because if you talk to any industry expert, he will say, I want all these skill sets. I want them to analyze, synthesize, evaluate. I want them to have these soft skills. I want to have this. So this all has to be blended in the way we deliver the course, in the way we design the curriculum, deliver it and evaluate them. And of course, now they have also said that you can add practicals, assignments, projects, internships, tutorials, apprenticeship, on-the-job training, field visit, factory visit, everything can be included as part of the learning outcomes. Then focus on higher order skills and excellence in learning and teaching. And I think all of us know the knowledge dimension and the cognitive process dimension, which we call also as Bloom's taxonomy. So based on this, if you study the grid, you will easily understand that when you're designing the curriculum, how you have to blend the courses, what the systemic coherence has to be brought in so that the learning outcomes can be achieved in terms of higher order skills. Coming to National Credit Framework, it encompasses a lot of things. These are the levels like we were discussing before I started my presentation. So the diploma after 10th standard and the diploma after graduation, or when you take admission after 12th standard. So the levels are written over here. So credit level 4, after credit level 4, if the entry is, see, you will see now the courses will be defined. Key, after 12th, where you can take admission. So the entry level eligibility will be level 4. Okay. When you talk of 10th standard, the entry level eligibility will be level 3. So this will differentiate the 2 different types of diploma and certification. Okay. So it is clearly defined the credit levels, the credit points you will earn, the number of hours you are required to study. If you study this table very carefully, you will see all such provisions are made over here. That what you will get when, which degree you can get, and what is the minimum requirement. So study this table carefully. I think lots of answers will be solved, questions will be answered. And you see from preschool 3 years, it starts. Okay, so from there onwards in Academic Bank of Credits, all this will be added up. And similarly, they have defined the future skill qualifications also, which are aligned with the NSQF. And this is all what we are talking, the industry 4 areas, the indicative sectors of skilling, What are the indicative frameworks which will be evaluated, like autonomous robots, simulations? We all talk about these topics, what skills can be measured and how they can be developed. And coming to, I'll just end my talk now. So in national this policy for higher education, the focus is on institutional restructuring and consolidation. Then it is towards more holistic and multidisciplinary education. I think this is very important part, which we all need to think and make our teams also think about it. Excuse me. There is more focus on support for students, and this support for students is for, of course, economically backward students, that no student should be left because that student cannot pay the fees. So a lot of policies are there to support the students in a financial way. Then for faculty development, there are a lot of provisions to make the faculty motivated, energized, and capable. Equity and inclusion in higher education. So as I said, access for everyone who wants to take education. Teacher education has a separate provision that how they will be supported with training, development. Then catalyzing quality academic research in all fields. Then transforming the regulatory system and effective governance and leadership. A lot of focus is there that how the governance and leadership should be. And I think one has to go into the details of NEP policy. You will see clear provisions are made that how the board of governance has to be formulated, how the members should be, what should be the responsibilities of members, how they will contribute, and how the minutes are to be followed up. In depth, a lot of study has been done and proper governance and leadership guidelines have been provided. So with this, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to share my thoughts.
Thank you, madam. I think that as a first speaker, what NEP is of course all our eminent speakers, everybody knows, but she has put a detailed presentation so that now onwards the panel discussion can continue as such. Now we are having only two in sequence because of the further commitments for Kakade and then Vinay Kulkarni. And after that, it would be amongst all the panelists as it flows freely. Kakade, sir.
Yeah. Dr. Marathe, with your permission, I will leave the panel.
Oh, yeah, you're all there. Okay, okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, so good afternoon, all the esteemed panel members. Since we are celebrating the 3rd anniversary of the launch of NEP2020 tomorrow, and all the panelists being veteran academicians or the people with a lot of industrial experience, I don't think that I need to talk about. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't think I need to talk about what are the provisions of NEP2020. As I already told you, we are celebrating the 3rd anniversary of the launch of NEP2020. So almost everybody is conversant of provisions of NEP2020, like multidisciplinarity, flexibility, and all those things. And different institutions like HEIs, universities, state governments have prepared their own action plans, their own way for implementing the provisions of NEP2020. I'm not going to take much time, but I will share my views on basically the two aspects. One is curriculum, other is research. Because I think the crux of the matter is basically the curriculum. So there are many things which are explicitly talked about in NEP2020. But my focus will be on certain things which are not explicitly spelled out in NEP2020, which needs to be taken into account when we go for curriculum and research. And it has got a context of basically engineering or technical education. So since the curriculum is at the crux, I think the curriculum should take care of the three things, which is the need of the hour today. Number one is emerging technologies. Number two, future engineering disciplines and practice areas, and diversity and inclusion. And to take care of these aspects, even though they are not explicitly talked about, of course, diversity and inclusion has been explicitly talked about, but other things are not explicitly talked about. To take care of these things, I think we should incorporate in our engineering curriculum, in addition to the flexibility, that minor, major, and all those things, what we should incorporate is basically digital learning, skills in data science, keeping in mind the emerging future engineering disciplines and practices. This is must across all the disciplines. Then we should give importance to theory-based formulation of engineering fundamentals, because there is a trend which I may be wrong, but I had seen at many places that there is a trend towards dropping some of the fundamental engineering courses. So this should not be done. Equal focus should be given on the courses like material science, fluid mechanics, heat transfer, dynamics, circuits, etc. This will take care of basically your engineering fundamentals, and the sound knowledge of engineering fundamentals is very much needed. And this is again across the disciplines. And to take care of diversity and inclusion, what we can do is, in terms for diversity and inclusion, we always talk at international level, we should have diversity and all those things. But we forget one thing, that we have a lot of local diversity itself in terms of gender and other things. So when we do the allotment of the project work to the students, at that time when we form the groups, when we ask the students to participate in activity-based learning, and when we form the groups, maybe for cooperative learning or whatever, we should include these considerations when forming the groups. So this will automatically take care of diversity and inclusion. Then coming to research, I think the time has come that we should move towards translational research in line with what is envisioned by our Honorable Prime Minister, Atmanirbhar Bharat. And if we make a shift towards translational research, we need to seriously think of alternative methods of evaluating the PhD work done by the candidate. Right now, our focus is only on basically publications. And all of us are well aware of the status of the publications, especially in our country, because on the lighter side, I used to say that India is publishing so many papers. So by now we should have become a technology leader, but where we stand. So quality of the publications is an issue. So when we make a shift towards translational research, I think we need to think of alternative method of evaluating the PhD work, maybe through patents, maybe through product development, technology transfer, as alternative to the publications. We can think of incorporating the provisions, like at many places, there is a funding available, and universities are registering for full-time PhD. So we can seriously think of first year devoted to internship for the PhD scholars. They can go to industry, they can go to society, so that they can identify the live problems. And that way we can make a shift towards the translational research. So these are the points which I would like to make from my side, based on my little experience of working in this profession for last 35 years. Thank you very much for giving patient listening to me.
Thank you, sir. Now, Vinay can start, because he has also leave too early. Kulkarni sir, please unmute.
Sorry, am I audible now?
Yeah, you are very much.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Yeah, thanks, Om Prakash. Good to see you.
Yeah.
I think Professor Kakade has already covered much that needs to happen on the academia side for the translational research. So let me just spare a few minutes rather, on what can happen on industry side, and in which way can industry facilitate translational research. In a way, we are in a very fortunate times, because the kind of problems that are being faced are quite large and almost wicked. And these problems have a very large canvas. They cannot be addressed by having competency or a knowledge of just one discipline. Most of these problems have interdisciplinary nature. Now, interactions with industry are not always very easy if the problem has commercial value. then IP, who owns the IP, and since industry is unlike academic institutes, industry is a for-profit organization. The legal departments of industry houses make it very difficult to work with academia when they see that it could there could be a possible leak of IP. So I won't touch those kinds of problems wherein there could be a conflict within industry between the researchers and the business. However, again, we are in a very fortunate times where we witness several problems in societal space which are very critical to address. Now, since this webinar is being hosted by Walchand College of Engineering, let me just take one example which we are beginning to work with Walchand College of Engineering. That's flood control of River Krishna. Now, it's for last 10 years or more, I would say, the flood situation in Sangli is worsening every year. And there are many reasons to it. Highly intensified rainfall in very short duration of time, quick flooding of, quick filling up of dams, and the water release mechanism from dams being a static lookup table. So as a result, and there is the other connotation of Sangli borders Karnataka, there is a Almaty Dam in Karnataka. That part is severe water shortage, so they don't release water quickly enough, and as a result, heavy flooding upstream happens. Now, we could just view this, model this problem as a classical system dynamic problem, wherein the model has inherent uncertainty of how much rainfall is going to happen where. But by modeling this problem as a system dynamics problem, we will be able to come up with a good enough solution. I'm not saying globally optimal, but good enough solution to decide how much water should be released from which dam in which condition. And in the least, this kind of a solution will help it will help bring all the executive engineers of adjoining districts to a discussion table to come up with strategies of doing flood control with certain amounts of assurances a priori. Through simulation, we will be able to get a peep into the likely situation in future and thus be better prepared. So this is just one example which industry or industrial research units and academia can jointly work so as to make a difference on ground. And there are a horde of such problems when it comes to smart electricity, when it comes to smart transportation, when it comes to water level control, when it comes to river water purification. All these problems are multidisciplinary problems which need significant depth in technology augmented by access to the real life data. So I believe with the focus of new education policy on the multidisciplinary nature and on students experiencing or applying what they have learned in the classroom into the real world, the more we can get our students involved in these kinds of problems, which have a clear demonstrability in the real world, it would be beneficial not only to the students, but to the society in general. So that's my 2 penny worth. Thanks for patient hearing. And I'm sorry I won't be able to stay late because I have some other engagements. So please do allow me to take your leave right now. I'll get an update from Professor Marathe later, and we will see how best we can move forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Now there one more industrialist, Sri Avinash Panchalji, sir, please.
Good afternoon, everybody. I am Avinash Panchal from Kolhapur. I have been actually, looking at the great personalities around here, and I have been in this field of actually mechanical engineering for last 35 years. And very sorry to say that the kind of people, engineers that we get to industry nowadays is really pathetic. And with this NEP, I see some ray of light that something better will happen. I have a few things to share with you. See, when in the education system, there are three aspects that we all industrialists always want to see in the candidates that we look for. One is their knowledge, IQ, but more importantly, the EQ and the social quotient of the people around is very, very important these days. During the education, we spend time in the different faculties to understand the basics of that particular stream. But as rightly said by Mr. Vinay Kulkarni, is that all the problems are always interdisciplinary. Now, it is important that I will stick myself to the technical education field more because most of the analysts now are basically from technical education field. So my concerns regarding the technical education are now with this, we are basically so fortunate that India is having a very good education system, very good teachers. The students are also really good. What we need to concentrate is to channelize their energy in the right direction. Luckily, at the administration level, with this Atmanirbhar Bharat initiative, we see so much, so many problems we receive from industry, from defense, from infrastructure building, from DRDO, ISRO, and all these institutions. The second is the agriculture. As engineer, we found that there are so many issues that our agriculture is now facing in terms of technology that they are looking for, because the land is now getting less and less, the fertile land. So how to optimize the yield from the field, and moreover, the workers are not available to industry and also agriculture. So how to, optimize the yield of agriculture is a very important issue that we all technical people and the academia has to really address to. So I feel that it is important that the academia should keep some hours of their engagement with the industry. I propose that at least 20% of their time should go with the industry, because that is a field from where the actual real-time problems can be addressed. The other important thing is, I personally feel that, okay, I mean, there are the Walchand College is a very top-notch institute, and your students may be, getting good jobs in IT industry or the top industries. But overall, there are about 60% students which are always on the crossroad. We have to fit our education system and the process of teaching to channelize this energy so that they can be useful to our industry and different fields that we talked about: defense, agriculture, infrastructure, etc., etc., etc. There are also problems of the water body. The nature is really into bad shape now. How do we increase the water level of whole of the India? And if we, all these are basically technical issues and technical problems, and they are interdisciplinary. So we need to take the, for example, now in the NEP, we have proposed that people, the students in 3rd and 4th year should spend their time in the internship. That will definitely help, because nowadays the students that we get, they don't want to work with hand. So I suppose if we, inculcate the dignity of work and respect for work during those period, it will definitely help our economy and the quality of the output of education institutions definitely a lot. We industry will definitely, for example, suppose I'm in Kolhapur, there are so many institutions around. Industry are definitely wanting to collaborate with the academia so that we can address our problems with them. Vice versa, the industry is definitely capable and interested in extending their resources in terms of manufacturing, in terms of design capabilities, in terms of the pedagogy that is required for addressing and getting the solutions implemented. Industry is ready to help them in terms of the resources. This collaboration has to happen very, very strongly, according to me. So I feel that there is a very strong need for industry and academic collaboration, and that can be achieved by having some kind of association with the local industries and local associations of industry. And if this can be encouraged by the institutions, that will be really very helpful. I will end with the comment that the basic problems why students fail to perform is because there is a dilemma at the institution also. What is important, the fundamentals or the high tech? According to me, at institution level, we must make a very strong base, a profound base to the students, and encourage them for extracurricular activities which will evolve their EQ and also the social quotient. So by the time they take education, if they develop their skills of having their own emotional quotient strong, and that is possible only when they work together, and also social quotient strong if they have a very strong bond with and empathy with the society. So I personally feel that the academia should motivate and should be the catalyst for this kind of implementation in the education. Thank you very much for your patient listening.
Thank you, sir. So, I would like to describe that the situation of student in NEP is like just for we coordinates today, that we are having eminent dignitaries and all being so eminent, the issue of sequencing, which we should give here first. Same is the problem for student, which bucket he is to choose. Now, Professor Hemant Abhyankar, who is the senior most amongst us here, has joined. So I have just earlier granted sequence as per the given sequence. Professor Mantha will speak now, and then Professor Abhyankar can take over to coordinate and moderate. So Professor Mantha, sir, please.
Thank you, Professor Marathe, and all the other panelists and the invited guests. There is a lot that has been said about NEP and in its implementation in the last couple of years. And we all fairly understand that the content and the intent of the of the policy is extremely good. The challenges obviously is in the implementation, and therefore we need to realize what those issues are and try and address at least some of those issues. Almost we had a university system, which if you talk about Mumbai University or Jadavpur University or Madras University, which were one of some of the oldest universities, we had almost all the departments on the campus, and they all were set up as to promote postgraduate education, research, and so on amongst different schools, different departments, and so on. But over a period of time, what actually happened was there was very little traction amongst the students because the employment opportunities were limited, and therefore some of the departments were not patronized, and over a period of time they eventually closed. And there was a period when we also came up with standalone universities, like we have a a technical university, a predominantly fine arts university, and things like that. So it went into a disaggregation mode much faster than we ever thought. In that process, the interdepartmental research, the multi-departmental research that we are talking about now, probably also had to suffer, because there are more silos built and people used to work within their departments, their silos, and so on. So it's not that they were not producing good research work, they were producing absolutely brilliant work, but it's only that they were more concerned with their niche areas and so on. So that's the first part. Now that the NEP talks about bringing that back into focus, creating an ecosystem for interdisciplinary research is good. But in order that that happens, there are a lot of things that have to happen at the ground level, and probably the policy and the various directives at different points of time will ensure that that happens. Then the second point is, fundamentally, if you look at a university, that was never set up. A university was never set up to guarantee jobs. It was set up more to provide the skills that are required, the domain expertise that is required in a certain area, and then expand that into a employment sector where you use your cognitive abilities and so on that you have gained over a period of 3 years or 4 years, and then fit into a certain employment scene. So that was the purpose of setting up a university. But over a period of time, like everything else has changed, this too changed. And now we are talking about the USP of a university or an institution as predominantly placements. And there is a lot of importance attached to placements and so on. So now we start talking about competency-based skills, outcome-based education, and so on, which actually go into building and defining those skills and so on. Now, in this process, the industry, which was supposed to provide the entry-level skills, also defaulted, and many of the industries even outsourced their training requirements to agencies outside. Now, all this process has come back at the university, and the industry is now saying that the students do not have the requisite skills and so on, whereas some of the responsibility lies with the industry itself. So we need to understand this paradigm a little better and not get onto the bandwagon of saying that every skill must be given in the university system or the institutional system, and the student would be ready for a particular job right from day one. That probably will not happen. It's asking for too much. So therefore, therefore we come back to what kind of skills, what kind of industry, and what kind of work that we are really or expertise that we are really looking at. So in that space, there are 3 to 4 events of NEP which become important. The first one is academic bank of credits. The second is multi-point entry exit. And the third point is personalized education. Now, these 3 in some essence define how the NEP would probably move forward. There are multitude of industries outside, whichever sector you talk about. Internationally, there are about 20 different sectors that are defined. For example, your manufacturing, your entertainment, your agriculture, these are all different sectors that we are talking about. And in each of those sectors, there are different employment opportunities, there are different job roles, and so on. Now here, it's extremely important to understand the supply demand equation that we are constantly referring to. Now, as institutions, as universities, we are all very nicely tuned to the supply side. We are not tuned to the demand side because that comes from the industry. Now, there are industry bodies available like FICCI or ASSOCHAM or CII or whatever, and these bodies should give a kind of feedback mechanism to the educational system, saying that which area can absorb how many people and so on. That will decide the supply demand equation. Now, once that is done, you will exactly know how many people can fit wherein and what kind of skills are required in those employment sectors. Now, that is not done, and therefore we are only acting on the perception value and on the supply dynamics that we have. We have so many institutions, we have so many disciplines, so many people are produced in so many sectors, and eventually they all go out and try and get into a system which has limited opportunities. Now, this is the second problem. Now, therefore, we need to find out how to solve that supply demand equation. If you look at the primary sector of employment, which essentially is based on the produce from the earth, which means mines, mining, agriculture, and so on. And world over, that sector provides you about 10% of the jobs, the employment opportunities. In the secondary sector, which is essentially manufacturing, it provides you about 35 to 40% of employment opportunities. Now, that sector will grow only if the primary sector grows. Then the tertiary sector, and in India, in the last few years, we have had about 17 to 18% growth in the manufacturing sector, which should have actually been 40%. Now, the tertiary sector, which is essentially the service sector, that provides you about 55 to 60% of employment opportunities. So therefore, every person, whichever discipline he belongs to, art, science, commerce, engineering, or whatever, they all go towards the service sector only because there are jobs available there. So an engineer, if there is no commensurate employment opportunity available for him, skills or no skills, he will still migrate to the service sector because there is no job in his sector, but a job is available in the service sector, which technically means that there are many professions where underemployment happens. Now, all these things are sought to be addressed in some manner within the national education policy. The idea of multiple entry exit is something that is important in this context. Very briefly, after 12 plus 1 year, you get a certification. After 12 plus 2 years, you get a diploma. After 12 plus 3 years, you get a degree. And after 12 plus 4 years, if somebody progresses there, he gets honors degree or some extension to some research work and things like that. Now, in this process, if we were to say, even in the earlier system, even before the NEP, it was possible for a student to drop out after 1 year of 12, after 12, or 2 years after 12, and so on. But the only qualification that he would have probably had, or he probably has, is 12th. That 1 plus 1 plus 2 plus 3, they were not recognized. In the national education policy, we have those recognized by appropriate certifications. But this is only half the story. What must happen is, if as a student, if I want to drop out after 1 year of 12, what is it that I will do outside? If I want to drop out after 2 years, what is it that I will do? So that question will need to be answered, else the current NEP system will also operate like the earlier system. So therefore, it's very necessary to build competency-based skills at every level, connect with the industry, map the industry for the job levels, and each job level, there are skill sets that are required within a certain sector of an industry. Those skill sectors will have to be suitably pushed into the curriculum of each of those years. Only then, if I say 12 plus 1 and I provide an exit route with the skills that I have at that level, will I be able to find an appropriate employment outside? Otherwise, what is the use of taking a certificate and going out? I would as well continue and complete the graduation and then leave. That is happening even today. So the dimension that is added here is the employability and the skill-based education that people are talking about, and the possibility of an appropriate employment at that level for those people who have to probably look after their families, earn outside, earn and learn, those kind of things. So it's extremely necessary, first of all, to map the industry sectors, the kind of job roles they have, and then go backwards and design the curriculum and things like that. So that is where the curriculum design becomes important. In this process, you may have some prerequisites, you may have some courses, you may have some electives, and all these make a difference only to the extent of what those employment sectors and what those skill sets that are required there. The second important part of this is the your accumulation of credits. Now that will allow mobility among students from university to institutions and so on, select their own courses that they are interested in, maybe as value added, maybe as specialized courses of 1 credit or 2 credits and so on. In an engineering perspective or in a science perspective or in any other discipline perspective, those courses are called micro-credentials, and they result in fractional credits, which when a student acquires during his process of 3 years or 4 years, which are anyway aligned to an industry-specific sector, then it makes a difference. So therefore, while acquiring these additional credits and so on from different places, and therefore that will result in accumulation of credits and so on. In addition to that, I may as well take a physics from, let's say, Mumbai University, or a chemistry from Delhi University, things like that. But that will happen only when there are MOUs between these participating universities. There's a collaborated effort, there's sharing of resources, sharing of faculty, sharing of their content, and things like that. And all that is possible only on a digital platform, because physically moving students is just not going to work. So you need a complete digital platform to operationalize this academic bank of credits and so on. Similarly, personalized education is where I believe what I want to do within the scope of the regulations and so on. And therefore, if I feel that I would want to do a photography course from a certain university outside my jurisdiction, then obviously that is allowed in the current system, but there must be a process that is built around it which will make it happen. So these are some of the concerns and some of the issues. There are many other things about NEP. It's a good document in terms of the possibilities that can be expressed. But like I said, the implementation must be extremely effective if we want to really look at the benefits of the policy. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Manta, sir. I think now I request Professor Abhinkar, sir, to moderate and take it forward to make it interactive, just like a student, when he's given choices for selecting electives, he says that no, he goes to his mentor teacher and says that you please select for me, just like I am requesting Professor Abhinkar, but he can make it more interactive.
Okay. My first request would be to Dr. Mantha, and I see after a long time Dr. Vijay Khole with him. May I request them to be with us for some more time so that I may have some questions which they could also throw some light on. Mantha, do you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
please. Nice seeing both of you.
Thank you.
Please be with us for some more time because I'm going to pose some questions and maybe I don't know whether people would be in a position to throw some more light on that. NEP, I am extremely happy that Walchand College has taken up this issue today. But I think the discussion should be more focused on how to implement. I'm extremely happy that Dr. Mantha said about it very clearly that the demand side is the industry and the students would be only have to look at their employability in general. There are hardly, I find in institutions at Pune, the progressive institutions, I find that about 10% students try to go abroad for higher studies. 10% maybe students would be looking for higher education in India. Remaining 80% would like to pick up jobs immediately. Autonomy was granted as per the earlier National Education Policy 1990-86-91. The autonomy helped many institutions to grow in terms of academics as well as research. But the flexibility offered to them, probably the heads of the institutions did not follow what needs to be done. And now here is a problem with National Education Policy 2020. I find that the credit framework has been now settled down. AICT is yet to announce its own way. UGC announced it in December 2022. Maharashtra government has come out with a GR for technical institutions recently, and they have tried to focus how curriculum should be designed, etc. The objective is, of course, to create smart students. Smart in the sense they should be useful for producing things in India itself and helping the society of India first and then for the world. So to creating wealth in India should be our focus. Now the issue is most of the engineering colleges, luckily the advanced or the progressive or the institutions which are funded by the government like Walchand College or Visit EI, they are good enough. They are located, although in some places, Visit EI is in heart of the Mumbai. We have COEP in Pune city. We have some institutions which are at district places like Walchand College of Engineering, Sangli, where industries can easily help them to create a curriculum which should be useful to them. After all, as it is, we find that there are so many areas of, as you rightly described, Dr. Mantha described 20 sectors defined internationally, or maybe we can define some more for India as well. Now, for each sector, we had a system by which we were trying to find out manpower requirement at national level, and nodal center was at Visit 20 years ago. such nodal centers could not identify what is required at a micro level. They could define it only at a macro level. Now, currently our problem is if an engineering college like Walchand College of Engineering, Sangli, which has 6 disciplines at undergraduate level, maybe more than that in the postgraduate and PhD level, what is it that is required to be done at undergraduate level? How to implement what is expected by all who designed NEP 2020. Their expectations are high. But what is it? How to implement it at grassroots level right from first year engineering? If we go through the framework, we find that the major courses will start at first year and it will have only 2 credits in the first year. From second year onwards, the credits will improve. Suppose a company like Thermax in Pune has expectation of, let us say, 10 students from Walchand College of Engineering. Is it possible for them to participate with the curriculum development of Walchand College of Engineering for those 10 students from mechanical engineering or whatever discipline they want? Is it possible? That was my question when we implemented autonomy in Pune. And I found that about 40 industries took initiative to participate and train our students free of cost. This should happen, I believe. Colleges like Walchand College or any other advanced engineering colleges should be in a position to invite industry to pick up elective courses which are available in number now in the curriculum, and they can offer whatever curriculum they wish to offer for their own requirements or requirements similar to companies like whatever they are choosing. In this aspect, I was interested in understanding what is it that could be done. Let us say there are areas, if you have gone through the framework now, there are typical areas where inputs would be required by all faculty of engineering colleges across the state. Dr. Kole may also be interested in going through this and suggest something. His university will also be having something that they are trying to do at last. So can we think, let us say at first year engineering, what is it that needs to be done? At second year engineering, what should be done? Mantha is a mechanical engineer by himself. So for a mechanical engineering, what is it that must be taught? As somebody tried to figure out what is in totality should be done and what could be done as options, electives, etc., etc. If you have something thought about it, please throw some light, then we can go to industrialists, whether they can participate and help development of curriculum and assure recruitment right from first year itself, so that the students will concentrate on those areas, they'll prepare their projects, they can do community services, etc., all related to what is going to be the end results. I don't know if my idea is acceptable to all or not, but this is what I propose. Can we talk about how to implement NEP right from first year is the basic requirement of most of the engineering colleges. The principals are not aware. The deans of academics in various institutions, they are all confused. So let us try to help all of them. How can they implement the NEP 2020 as per the framework that is expected to happen? Would you like to say a few things, Dr. Mantha and Dr. Koval?
Yeah, Dr. Abhek, thank you for the opportunity to speak here. Now, first is there are about 8 different sectors in which people find employment. One things like places like essentially manufacturing, finance, products of any sector, and so on. So therefore, whether one is a arts graduate or science graduate or engineering graduate or whoever, they will find an employment in one of these 8 verticals. Having said that, there are three. Today's curriculum will be, as we all know, the ecosystem is changing. The employment sector is becoming more automated. There is a lot of automation that is coming in the employment sector, and a lot of implementation of AI and predictive analysis is happening within the industry. So therefore, it makes no difference to keep a mechanical engineer siloed in his disciplinary approach. But what must be done is take a more liberal view. Now, by that liberal view, there is, before explaining that liberal view, we must understand that 12 plus 1 year, whether it's engineering or science or arts or whatever, will hardly find any commensurate job in the industry today. That's a basic problem. So, in as much as saying that it is very good to build competency-based skills at every point and give 12 plus 1, 12 plus 2, 12 plus 3, all that, those certifications may not really make a big impact as long as the industry sector also doesn't reform and accept these people at 12 plus 1, 12 plus 2, and so on for certain skill sets that are required within the industry and so on. Now, coming back to the curriculum part of whether it's mechanical engineering, whatever, we like, I think Kakade have said, we are losing focus on certain basic skill sets and so on. So therefore, I do believe in that. I mean, there are certain building blocks which must be there. So there is no compromise on that. So if you, for example, any engineer today, whether it's mechanical or a computer engineer, for example, an electronics guy, for example, will need materials engineering, material science. And most of the curriculum, if you see, including mechanical in some of the universities, there is no reference to material science at all today. So those kind of building blocks must be there. So that becomes a prerequisite. For example, your applied physics, applied maths, applied chemistry. These are the building blocks that must be not compromised at all. Second is you build on that with, so therefore there is a group of core skills that are required. There are a group of there are a group of prerequisites that are required. There are a group of core courses that are required, and you build a core of electives from which people select. So there are some courses selected from the prerequisites, some selected from the core, some selected from the electives, which build a certain level of competency-based skills, so that the person can get into a certain job role within the industry sector that is defined, whether it's mechanical, electrical, electronics, or whatever. So three, as far as the core, as far as the prerequisites are concerned, we are pretty aware of what must be taught for as an engineer. Don't make the difference between a mechanical engineer and an electrical engineer at that level, except for the electives that are added at those levels, the value-added courses that are added at those levels. Now, so therefore, the second part of getting the core courses will be based on the kind of industries that employ mechanical engineers, for example. I'm talking of that because you took that example. So you build core courses like something based on fluids, something based on mechanics, something based on theory of machines, dynamics, and so on. Then the third part is really something that will define where this fellow will go ultimately into the employment sector. And that is the elective part, the value-added part, the niche programs and things like that. Is where the micro credentials, the fractional credits, all that comes in. Now, therefore, if we look at the skill sets that are required, there are three skill sets required at that elective level. I have said don't make compromise on prerequisites, don't make compromise on core courses, but now we are looking at the third part, which is the electives part, not in the conventional sense that we define electives, but in a broader sense. Now, these skill sets that we require are at three levels. One is your data skills. The second is the business skills. And the third is the technology skills. Wherever you go, fundamentally, you have to be a good engineer. So the basics must be very, very strong. You can build everything else only if the base is strong. So therefore, the core programs and the prerequisites must be very strong in concepts and so on. And you build business skills, you build data skills, and you build the rest of the value-added programs in the final year and things like that. So that, because today, if you look at any technology that, for example, you look at a car that you drive, you look at a washing machine, you look at any of the equipment that you work with, they're all interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary. So therefore, there's a systems engineering that is very, very important in that. There's a component level design that is extremely important in that. And because of automation, there is an element of AI, there is an element of ML. Because of the internet and the possibilities of conducting technology and conducting manufacturing over the internet, you will need data skills, you need and in order to run the business, you need business skills and things like that. So therefore, it's a much broader aspect. Probably you can't sit across the table and say that this is what is first year engineering curriculum in the current context, because the industry has metamorphosed into several dimensions.
Thank you. Thank you.
So now Shivakar जायचं लवकर. So Shivakar sir आता हे जायचं.
Please. Go ahead.
Shivakar sir.
Okay, so thank you so much. Sorry, I had to leave at 5, so I thought I didn't want to disrupt the sequence, but I thought if I could just time earlier, I can speak a little bit. So let me start from here that NEP 2020 came just 3 years back. But if you really look at the churning at the national level regarding the engineering curriculum, I think it has been going on much before that. And there was a lot of discussion which was happening at AICTE level, even at CII level, and many other bodies, what the future engineering should be. And in that context, there was some things which was spelled out through the discussions. For example, the future engineering would require solving the grand challenges, which was defined by the National Academy of Engineering, USA also. Also, our TIFAC defined some problems which the engineers have to solve in the coming years. Multidisciplinary, systemic thinking, innovation, creativity, entrepreneurship, they were overemphasized more than a decade actually for engineering education. The liberal arts courses, which also people were realizing the importance of them in building character and ethical values, they were also very significantly emphasized. Sustainability, digital literacy, lifelong learning, they came all even in the part of NBA, which was the National Board of Accreditation, which AICTE sort of signed the treaty, what is called Washington Accord. Many of the parameters were already part of most of the things. What NEP 2020 did, however, is essentially it endorsed many of the things which engineering institutions wanted to do even otherwise. And those institutions which were free to do whatever they want, like IITs and many national institutions, they were doing many of the things which the NEP is talking about even much before the NEP 2020 came. So, for example, if you look at the NEP 2020 recommendation, we all know the societal problems are the intersection of multidiscipline, and multidisciplinary approach is required for engineering education. A very well known, very well established fact. Everybody accepts that thing. Restructuring of department and disciplines, I think we have been talking about for quite some time, but I don't think even NEP is really sort of saying that, and even departments are really prepared to move in that direction to really break the boundaries between different departments. Flexibility in curriculum, it has been emphasized, which is a very good thing. Credit transfer, the concept of major and minor, exposure to societal problem, design thinking, right, and integration of knowledge. These are all good things which any education system would like to have. So from that angle, if you look at the NEP 2020, I think it is a very nice, wishful document which any country would like to have, whether in India or even any other country. Anybody wants to make a progress in education as a whole, particularly in the engineering sector. Question is, again, as Professor Mantha also emphasized, The bigger problem is the implementation of this, the NEP 2020. And let me raise one or two points which are really of concern. And just before me, there was a discussion on this. There is a multiple entry, multiple exit option which has been created. Maybe from societal angle, this is a very nice concept. The student should have a flexibility to get into a program or leave the program according to their convenience. First question is, how many people who get into engineering would like to use this kind of flexibility? And if there are only a handful of people who want this kind of flexibility into the program, should we be disrupting the entire engineering program just to accommodate only a handful of people? That's the first question. Second question is that when we are talking about multiple entry and multiple exit, it has impact on academically, it has impact administratively, and it has an impact financially. So the first of all, coming to the academic impact, I think just now we had a discussion on that. In my opinion, what even implementation those institutions we have done, even at the state level, we have just tweaked the program, which was existing program, with adding one or two courses at each year and saying that now it is NEP compliant. My opinion, that's not the way to really look at it. Because the program which we have designed for engineering was designed in a comprehensive fashion. That first we need fundamentals, then we need this, then we have a hands-on practice, then you know the project. That's the way the program was designed. Now you are saying that somebody who wants to get out of the program after first year with a certificate, he should be employable. Of course, he should be employable. But then the question one can ask is, that the courses like physics, chemistry, mathematics he is going to do along with his two skill courses. What is the use of those courses? Those courses are completely not useful to him when he goes to the job after first year. After 2 years, if he comes to second year, he must have forgotten most of the things which are given there in the first year, which is the foundation which is required for the engineering. So by doing this exit option and tweaking the program, saying that somebody can get out of the certificate, I don't think it is either helping the program or helping the individual who are going to get out of this program. So that is the first thing you have to worry about. So if you really want to make this thing like a certificate, diploma and something, our academic curriculum structure has to be inverted. It has to be inverted pyramid. What that means is, first you tell them only hands-on kind of thing with only black box approach. Then you tell them little theory, then you tell them higher theory, and so on and so on. The concept of the physics, chemistry is the foundation of engineering. In my opinion, the present curriculum itself is a misnomer. Because those students who come after diploma and join the second year directly, they have not done these physics, chemistry courses, but they also get the engineering degree which on par with other people. What that means is that the first year curriculum which we have been using so far is not really the foundation which is required for engineering. Physics, chemistry, mathematics courses are required, but they are required to refine your thinking, logical reasoning, which could be at any level, need not be starting from first year. So the inverted parameter approach in a comprehensive fashion, that in my opinion, nobody has really looked at. Even at AICTE, when we had discussion, we had elaborate discussions on this, but finally we ended up into this minor tweaking to the program, which were already existing into AICTE. Coming to now the administrative problem and the financial problem. So administrative problem, for example, when you look at this policy from the government or the bigger institution point of view, these problems are not there. But imagine now, under 60–70% engineering education is going to be in the private sector. And the private sector to become self-sustaining, if the students keep moving in and out or keep taking courses from wherever they like, what is the impact on the administrative structure of the private institution? How the private institution can hire faculty? How would they know next year how many people, faculty are required? What is the infrastructure required? Suppose the majority of students start exploiting this situation and leave the institution and start taking courses from somewhere else, how would the institution sustain? We have no answers on that. Then coming to the financial aspect of this, that again coming to this, that if the students start taking courses from various places, it may help their bank of credit, but would the institution be sustainable? The institution will not be sustainable. At this point of time, even otherwise, even with the full commitment which is given as per the full program, the sustainability of engineering institution is in big trouble. So this aspect, when we look at multiple entry, multiple exit point, we require a much broader discussion rather than saying that we can get a certificate, we can get a diploma, we can get a degree after 1 to 3 years. It is not that trivial issue as it has been sort of highlighted or has been discussed at various levels. So that is my first reaction. Second reaction, which is done very, very forcefully, teaching the engineering education into the local languages. Now, we all think that we understand the material basically through the local languages. We all agree with that. But should it be at the engineering level? If we talk about the primary level, if we talk about secondary level, maybe I can understand that the education should be in their vernacular language. You should be studying in your own language. In engineering, when we are talking one side to create engineers which are of global competence, and next you are saying that it should be taught in local languages. And many of the states have already prepared the curriculum and the books in the local languages. The Maharashtra government has done that. Now, if somebody goes through this curriculum in Marathi language in Maharashtra, leave about global, he will not be able to live with one state. He will be confined to only Maharashtra because he doesn't know how to really do engineering into any other language. Is that the kind of engineers we want to create? That at least the national level we should be creating. We all give examples of China and Germany that look, they are teaching their own languages. But ask question, China has a one unified language for the entire nation. Do we have a unified language for the entire nation? If you talk about Germany, even Germany, which was very strong in their own German language, eventually they also have to yield to start their program into English. The reason is most of the technical material which is getting published is still get published into English language. Most of the new terminology which comes, that comes into English language. So if you really want to create a global engineer, I think we require a much stronger and open discussion rather than getting sentimental about various issues of which could be of importance for the nation. But when it comes to the engineering aspect, I think we require a much more solid discussion on saying that what will really create the engineer which will be of the global competence. Engineering and industry and education should go hand in hand together. And I fully agree with Professor Mantha what he said, that the responsibilities which were earlier on the industry to impart some skills, now they want to push the entire responsibility to the education sector. I think education's job is to really provide solid foundation and also to give a critical thinking so that they can solve the unsolved problem later on in engineering and society. We are not creating the engineer to cater to a particular one industry. And you talk to different industry, every industry says what he wants, what is their requirement. But industry has a very wide basket. So education should be actually doing the teaching that material, firstly, which is time invariant, which is essentially the foundation, right? So that which doesn't change over time. So in this process, I would say there are two types of courses we see. One is short-lived courses, other one are long-lived courses. Short-lived courses are changing very rapidly. Computer science, many courses, their lifetime is only 5 years. Whereas if you take the foundation courses like control system, microelectronic devices, like telecommunication, these are the courses which are going to live for next 20, 30 years. So shouldn't we be focusing in our curriculum on the long-term the education rather than only catering to the short-term industrial requirement? Because if you do that, then we will create the engineers who will adapt with the changes in the industry, and that will become in a long-term much more stable system rather than talking about only piecemeal solution, which will need the engineering education only in the short years to come. So in summary, the NEP is a very, very nice wishful document, but from engineering, when we look at it, I think we should require much more open thinking and ask questions, how do we create the engineers which is of the global standard? Let me stop here, and any questions, I'll be happy. Thank you so much.
I'd like you to comment on one important thing, which I find that 4-year engineering program can have 160 credits, or we can have credits of 194. Now the tuition fees which are defined for all colleges, they would be based on curriculum that is being implemented. Will it be the choice of the institution to define total number of credits, or will the student be able to accept how many credits one has to take? For example, now engineering degree will be having 5 types. One is BSc engineering after 3 years, a general engineering after 4 years with 1 minor, and maybe with research, etc., with additional credits of 20. Now, in US and other countries, I find that the tuition fees are based on credits, per credit. Will we have to define the tuition fees now as per the credits, or what needs to be done? And will it be in the hands of the institute, or will the students be able to choose?
So at the moment, I think our whole system is based on the year basis. No matter how many courses you do, you pay the blanket fees, which is for a semester or for a year. So I tell you my experience with Bennett University. We wanted to include this flexibility, and we told students, if you want to do some extra courses, you have to pay extra money for doing a minor or something. Categorically, all students said, if you have to pay the more money, we are not interested either in honors program or in minor program. So they want to do all this extra thing only if they don't have to pay extra money. So that is the cultural change which we required in our fee structure. I fully agree with you. US does that, credit-based system. But India, we are still not prepared for the credit-based system if you go by the student mentality.
And secondly, government pays fees of so many students, 50% or 100%. Right. And then the number of credits, if they are changed, who will bear the cost? That Absolutely. Will be another important issue. And if it is in the hands of the institute, that the institute will say that, all right, 180 credits are enough for engineering.
Absolutely.
And the employability may be in question, and at that time they will have to think about it. So this will be shifting, the curriculum will be changing every now and then. This is my worry about every educational institute's curriculum. So if they want to improve the employability, they will have to change number of credits. If they have to choose 1 minor or 2 minors or whatever, because civil engineering requires now computer abilities. So will you be forcing all students to take computer as a minor, IT as a minor, or what needs to be done? This will be a big problem, which will be faced by the faculty of engineering, who are going to teach and counsel the students, because counseling will be a part of the engineering teachers itself. So I find it very difficult. So I thought I will ask the panel itself, let them throw some light what could be done. That's why I asked you this question.
So one of the problems, just to sort of mention again, this policy has given a lot of reforms in education, except what is the financial model for the reform? This policy is completely silent on the financial implementation of this recommendation which has made. And unless that is sorted out, many of the things will remain only wishful thinking. They will not get into ground reality. That's what my thing.
I fully agree that most of the students who join first year engineering, the private management will insist that they will have to complete 4 years. Absolutely. They will not allow them to leave, because the Supreme Court had already given a decision that every student who joins the institute will be responsible to pay the fees for the 4 years. Right. Now this will be another problem, that on paper everything is allowable and nothing is possible. Anyway, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Narayan, do you have some question to be asked to?
What question? Now we have a small case study by Professor Priya Jadhav from Sitar IIT Bombay, and then Dr. VN Shinde, Registrar, he has to leave, so he will speak. And after that, Professor G.D. Yadav kindly consented to have a presidential conclusion at the end. So now Jadhav madam can start.
Dr. Marathi, can I come inside for some time?
Yeah.
Of course, sir.
So,
Please.
Sir,
No. I only said 2 things. As Abhyankar sir has requested you would be, we presume that you are there till the end. But if you have to leave early, then we can accommodate some immediately.
Once the concluding remarks are made, then I am of no use.
No, not concluding. No, sir, no. I said number 1, number 2, and number N. In between, there are many variables, sir.
No, let me come inside for some time.
Oh, yes, sir, surely, sir.
Professor Abhinkar,
Yes,
it
sir.
appears that the discussion and interaction is arranged by Wharton College of Engineering, and therefore the entire emphasis is only on engineering education. NEP is not meant only for engineering. NEP is meant for all the faculties. And in a university system, we should be also looking at other subjects and other faculties and what their problems are, or if they are in a position to implement NEP or not. The kind of problems and issues that are being raised in the discussion, personally, I believe it is too late to talk about it now. 3 years have gone. Most of these observations and comments should have been raised on earlier occasions so that the NEP document to a certain extent at least could have got modified.
No, sir, that's not true. I think we raised the objection even then 3 years back, 4 years back when it was in draft form. Somehow this was not taken into consideration.
No, Professor Shigaukar, I can understand minorities always suffer, especially in the academic world. But now that the document is in hand, many of us will have the responsibility of implementing at least a good part of that document into this education system. We can always forget about the problems, keep them aside, but at least whatever is the good part, because the entire document appears to be a very student-centric document. I can understand your problems and my problems are same when we are working in a private environment. Private establishments, private educational institutions, they will have different problems, especially related to the finances. And NEP is completely silent on the financial model of running this kind of an exercise. However, we can't be forgetting that the part which is good for students remains incomplete and we don't implement it at all. So one of the suggestions which emerged in this discussion, and also some of the private institutions in Mumbai have started implementing, is they have started charging the students based on the credit program which they would like to do with them, or they would ask the students to go outside and pay the respective fees in the credit module and get their interest solved. That is the only solution that today you are left with. You collect all your fees or not, whether your students pay to you all the fees or not. It's an issue which you have to sort out with your institution and the students. Myself and Professor Mantha, we have been moving around together, looking after how NEP could be smoothly, seamlessly implemented. We also face these difficulties. Educational institutions ask us many of these questions. However, we advise them that look at the better part so that the students can benefit. For example, an engineering student would always like to learn, and for him or her, it is beneficial to learn a foreign language. So there is no harm in making arrangements so that the foreign language can be learned at least to a certain extent, which could be useful for their job profile. Or many of these electives, which actually would develop the student differently, any educational institution can make those possibilities available virtually at no cost because they have the other faculty around. And if it is a university structure, then there is absolutely no difficulty in requesting or making other faculty members also to participate in those activities which could be supplementary and useful to the, say, for example, students of engineering. So posing these problems now and saying that it is difficult to implement NEP, in my opinion, is a bad exercise. We must sit down and find out ways and means by which at least a major portion of NEP which is useful for the students need to be implemented at any cost. Secondly, you also have this possibility of developing a research culture, because there is a 4th year possibility now, because the programs, at least as far as other faculties are concerned, are now converted into honors program. You also have integrated programs available where engineering students can simultaneously then go on completing their MBA component also, and probably will have better opportunities in the world. This development of entrepreneurship in your environment is possible. There are several schemes which will allow the students to take initiative and do many things on their own. Educational institutions have to only support those activities. These are all positive aspects that the NEP has touched. I know some of these, I know many of the IITs and some of our premier institutions, they are doing all these things. We are now concerned with the general higher education structure, especially the university structure, which probably was not so dynamic as our IITs and IIMs were. Yeah, Professor Abhikar, I have finished with my comments.
Please go ahead, sir.
No, I am through.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Narayan, you wanted somebody else to talk first?
Yeah, so maybe I'll go ahead because Professor Narayan Marathi invited me. So hi, everyone. I'm Professor Priya Jadhav from IIT Bombay, from Sitara. And I've been listening. This is a really interesting discussion. Thank you for holding it and for inviting us. And I think one of the things that I'd like to say is that the national education policy has really opened up on very important thing, which is to encourage engagement with real world problems and to do field oriented learning. So this is a very important thing in education, and I'm really happy that NEP has brought this on the table and pushed it out there as an agenda for engineering colleges and all colleges. So I just essentially I'm right now representing Unnat Maharashtra Abhiyan, which is a program at IIT Bombay, where we find ways for engineering colleges across the state to engage with field problems and real world problems and with government agencies. So the ways we've been doing this is through workshops, through actual projects and third-party empanelment of colleges to work with line departments in the government. And now we are also developing a course where we want to introduce this field component in core courses of engineering as well as electives. So I'm going to stop here and hand it over to Dr. Gopal Chavan, who is the program manager for UMA. And he will have a small presentation to tell you how to show how we are doing these things. Thank you.
Please go ahead.
Yeah. Thank you, madam, for introducing me. Marathi, can you share my presentation, or shall I share?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay. Is it visible to all?
Yeah.
So I take permission to all of you ki I will talk in some part in Marathi. Is anyone not familiar with Marathi in the group?
Go ahead, please.
Yeah, sorry. The presentation like the case study approach for fostering social responsibility, community engagement in higher education. हे आपल्या NEP मधला सर्वात एक महत्त्वाचा कंपोनंट आहे. आतापर्यंतचं डिस्कशन आपले जे झाले ग्रुपमध्ये, तर यामध्ये हा कंपोनंट वरती फार फोकस केलेला नाहीये. तर जस्ट मी याच्यावरती फोकस करेल. ह्या प्रेझेंटेशन मध्ये जाण्याच्या पूर्वी की आपण पाहू की आपल्या आजूबाजूला खूप सारे काही आपले प्रश्न आहेत, आणि हे प्रश्न खरंच आपल्या आत्ताचा जो पारंपरिक जो अभ्यासक्रम आहे, या पारंपरिक अभ्यासक्रमामधनं याचं उत्तर मिळतं का, किंवा व्यावसायिक कौशल्य किती विकसित होतात की जे आपल्या आजूबाजूला प्रश्न येतो त्यांचं उत्तर किंवा त्यांचं अनालिसिस करण्याचं किंवा डॉक्युमेंटेशन करण्यासाठी, किंवा नवीन ज्या चांगल्या नोकऱ्या येतील तयार होतील त्या कशा होत आहेत, आणि त्यासाठी आपल्या एज्युकेशन सिस्टीम मध्ये काय बदल हवेत. हे NEP मध्ये बऱ्यापैकी गोष्टी आहेत, तर त्या कशा तयार होतात, किंवा आपल्या बेसिक ज्या गरजा आहेत, मूलभूत सुविधा त्या कशा सुधारतील, त्याचा कसा अभ्यास आपल्या अभ्यासक्रमाशी संबंधित आपल्याला करता येईल. किंवा हे आता आपण जे पाहतो की जर आपण एम्प्लॉयमेंटचा डेटा जर पाहिला तर हे जे छोटे स्ट्रक्चर आहे MSME वगैरे, याच्यामध्ये 80% लोकांच्या नोकऱ्या आहेत. तर मग हे छोटे उद्योग खरंच त्यांची वाढ कशी झाली पाहिजे, त्यांचा विकास कसा झाला पाहिजे, हा आपल्या अभ्यासक्रमाचा मूळ उद्देश आहे का? किंवा आतापर्यंतचा आपला अभ्यासक्रम हा मोठ्या कंपन्यांना फायदेशीर होईल असा असतो, पण ज्या ठिकाणी नोकऱ्या सगळ्यात जास्त आहेत तिथं आहे का? किंवा आपले पदवी घेणाऱ्या विद्यार्थ्यांना पदवी आहे पण कौशल्य आहे का अनुभव आहे का? अशा स्वरूपाचं हे आपल्या आजूबाजूचं सध्याचं चित्र आपण जर पाहिलं तर सर्व ठिकाणी आपल्याला पाहायला मिळेल. तर खरंच मग आपण जर मूलभूत सुविधांची जर गरज पाहिली की आज आपण पाहतो की जिकडे तिकडे जारचं पाणी असेल, पाणी पुरवठा योजनांचं झालेली आपली अवस्था किंवा त्याच्यासाठी लागणारं संशोधन आपण केलेलं आहे का? मग ह्या नवीन प्रॅक्टिसेस, गरजा, त्याला लागणारा अभ्यास हा कुठून येणार आणि कसा करणार? जसं आता जलजीवन मिशन मध्ये पाहिलं तर एखाद्या जिल्ह्याला 1000 पेक्षा जास्त माणसं गरजेचे आहेत, कारण 500 करोडपेक्षा जास्त खर्च हे छोट्याशा जिल्ह्यामध्ये शासन आज खर्च करते. मग त्या कामाचं स्वरूप काय, त्याचं सर्वे वगैरे कशा पद्धतीने करताय, त्याची काय आहे, म्हणजे ही आपल्या मुलांमध्ये कौशल्य आपण केलंय का तयार? कारण बरेच आता हे मोठे मोठे कॉन्ट्रॅक्टर त्यांना नोकरी द्यायची मुलांना या. सो आवर इन्स्टिट्यूशन आर एबल टू डू क्रिएट दॅट काइंड ऑफ स्किल्स. म्हणजे हा वेगवेगळ्या विद्यार्थ्यांना आपण सुरुवातीलाच कुलकर्णी मॅडमनी सुरू केलं की मल्टीडिसिप्लिनरी. आपण म्हणतो की कुठलाही प्रश्न किंवा मंथा सरांनी म्हणले की रेफ्रिजरेशन असेल किंवा छोटा प्रश्न असेल, कुठलंही इक्विपमेंट हे पूर्णपणे मल्टीडिसिप्लिनरी मधनं तयार झालेलं आहे. मग या विषयाचं ज्ञान आपण मुलांना देतो का? कशा पद्धतीनं हे आपल्या विकासाच्या गरजा कशा, चांगले हे काय? मग ह्या सगळ्यांमध्ये रिजनल आणि लोकल प्रश्न आपले खूप सारे आहेत. ह्या लोकल आणि रिजनल प्रश्नांवरती काम करणं हा मला वाटतं की आपल्या अकॅडमिशियनला या न्यू एज्युकेशन पॉलिसीमधनं मिळालेला एक चांगला मार्ग आहे की छोटा कारखाना असेल ते तसा काम करतो. आपला बस डेपो आहे, तो बस डेपो तोट्यात का आहे? 350 बस डेपो आपल्याकडे आहेत, तर किती बस डेपो तोट्यात आहेत, किती बस डेपोना कशाची गरज आहे, त्यांना प्रायव्हेट एजन्सी कुठल्या पद्धतीच्या सर्व्हिसेस देत आहेत, मग तशा सर्व्हिसेस त्या देणाऱ्या एजन्सीला लागणारे मुलांची ट्रेनिंग आपण देतो का? किंवा तालुका बस डेपो मध्ये जो माणूस जॉब करायला जातो गव्हर्नमेंट याच्यामधनं, त्याच्यासाठीच आपण स्किल तयार केल्यात का मुलांमध्ये? का फक्त एमपीएससी देऊन ते मुलगा मल्टिपल चॉईस क्वेश्चन देऊन तो लागतो तिथे, मग त्याच्यातनं ती सर्व्हिस तयार होणार आहे का? म्हणजे अशा पद्धतीचे वेगवेगळे जे प्रश्न आपल्या बाजूला आहेत, खरंच हे प्रश्न जर आपण थोडक्यात विचार केला तर कार्यक्षमता वाढून नवीन नोकऱ्या तयार होऊ शकतात. त्यासाठी आपल्याला नवीन अभ्यासक्रमामध्ये बदल कसे करता येतील, वेगळे विषय आणि त्याच्यामध्ये लागणारी इंटेलेक्च्युअल पॉवर पण तेवढीच महत्वाची आहे आणि ती तयार करणं हे खरं आपलं काम आहे. तर यासाठी उन्नत महाराष्ट्र हे अभियान काम करतं की जसं तुम्ही आता हे जर पाहिलं या त्रिसूत्रीवरती उन्नत महाराष्ट्र अभियान काम करतं की अनुभव आधारित रोजगार शिक्षण कसं आलं पाहिजे, प्रादेशिक प्रश्नाचा अभ्यास आणि संशोधन कसं झालं पाहिजे, शासकीय यंत्रणा आणि भागधारक म्हणजे महत्वाचं की जे स्टेक होल्डर्स कोण आहेत आपले, की ते कसे त्यांच्याशी इंटरॅक्शन झालं पाहिजे, अशा स्वरूपाची ही युएमएची. तर आपण पाहिलं की विद्यापीठाचं स्वरूप जर आपण पाहिलं की एक चक्र की शासन आहे, कंपन्या आहेत, कर्मचारी आहेत, तर सगळ्यात महत्वाचं की सल्ला आणि नियोजन या ठिकाणी आपली विद्यापीठं कमी पडत आहेत. आता आपण पाहतो की फॉरेन विद्यापीठं आपल्या महाराष्ट्र गव्हर्नमेंटला असेल किंवा केंद्र शासनाला असेल मोठी मोठी फंडिंग आपल्याकडनं घेऊन जातात ते, आणि ते त्यांच्या पद्धतीने ऍज अ कन्सल्टंट म्हणून आपल्या याच्याची काम करतात. त्यांची मुलं इथे या सल्ला नियोजन याच्यावरती संशोधन करतायत आणि आपल्या मुलांना त्या पद्धतीचं आपण करत नाही की मग आपण प्रगत राष्ट्राकडे पाहिलं किंवा इव्हन चायना वगैरेचं आतापर्यंत उदाहरण आलं किंवा साऊथ कोरिया वगैरे, ही जी देश आहेत हे कशा पद्धतीने त्यांचा अभ्यासक्रम त्यांच्या शासनाला लागणाऱ्या गोष्टीसाठी करतात. आणि शासनाला लागणाऱ्या गोष्टी म्हणजे शासनासाठी बऱ्याच कंपन्या ऍज अ कन्सल्टंट म्हणून काम करतात. डेलॉइट घ्या, आपण बऱ्याच मोठ्या मोठ्या कंपन्या आहेत की त्याच्यासाठी लागणारा जो स्किल लागते आपल्याकडे. वर्ल्ड बँकमध्ये वेगवेगळ्या पद्धतीच्या जॉब असतात, त्या कशा असतात, याचं स्वरूप काय, किंवा आपण एनजीओ सेक्टर म्हणतो. आज एनजीओ सेक्टरचं जर तुम्ही आपण विस्तार पाहिला तर तो 50,000 कोटीच्या वरती जॉब म्हणजे नोकरीमधनं पैसा म्हणजे सॅलरीसाठी खर्च होतो. ह्या सगळ्यांना आणि या शासनाला लागणाऱ्या याच्यामध्ये आपण कसं केलं पाहिजे, हा आपल्या विद्यापीठापुढे असणारा आता सगळ्यात मोठाचा प्रश्न आहे. तर मग यासाठी प्रोफेसर मिलिंद सोहनी यांनी जे उन्नत महाराष्ट्र अभियान मध्ये केस स्टडी अप्रोच नावाचा हा सुरू केलेला आहे. तर यांच्यामधनं यांचा उद्देश आहे की विविध ज्या समस्या आहेत आपल्या बाजूच्या दैनंदिन जीवनातल्या त्या समजून घेणं, त्याचं सायन्स काय आहे, त्याचा सिद्धांत याच्याशी त्याचा, आणि वेगवेगळ्या फील्ड व्हिजिट करून त्याचे ऑब्झर्वेशन करून प्रायमरी डेटा कलेक्ट करून सेकंडरी डेटा कलेक्ट करून त्या अनालिसिस कसा करायचा, तो डेटा मांडायचा कसा, एखादा स्टेक होल्डर आहे त्याला भेटल्यानंतर त्याच्याशी संवाद कसा साधायचा की जेणेकरून तो प्रश्न समजेल, त्याला मांडता येईल. म्हणजे दिलेल्या माहितीचं विश्लेषण करून तो अहवाल तयार करण्यापर्यंत मुलांना आपण कसं तयार केलं पाहिजे, अशा स्वरूपाचा हा केस स्टडी अप्रोच आपण पाहतो. तर अशा स्वरूपाचा एक IIT बॉम्बेमध्ये सितारा नावाचा डिपार्टमेंटमध्ये हा कोर्स चालतो आणि प्रोफेसर प्रिया जाधव ह्या त्याच्या कोर्स कॉर्डिनेटर आहेत. हा IIT बॉम्बेच्या सिनेटनी पास केलेला कोर्स आहे. हा 6 क्रेडिटचा कोर्स, 6 आणि 12 क्रेडिटचा कोर्स असा इलेक्टिव्ह 2011 पासून चालतो आणि बरीच मुलं याच्यातनं, आणि हा कोर्स ओपन टू ऑल स्टुडंटसाठी आहे, की तो ग्रॅज्युएट तो मेटलर्जीचा आहे का, तो फिजिक्सचा आहे का केमिस्ट्रीचा आहे, याच्यासाठी त्याला लिमिट नाहीये. फक्त त्याला याच्यामध्ये काय करायचं की TDSL म्हणजे टेक्नॉलॉजी डेव्हलपमेंट सुपरवाइज लर्निंग असा कोर्स आहे की त्यांनी ते फील्ड वर्क करायचं, 2 फील्ड व्हिजिट करायच्या आणि डेस्क वर्क करून असं एक 50-60 तासाचं ते काम त्यांनी त्या कोर्समध्ये करायचं आहे अशा स्वरूपात. आणि त्याच्यानंतर हा रिपोर्ट तयार होतो की त्याचा एक रिपोर्ट बनवत होतो की अशा स्वरूपाचे वेगवेगळे कोर्सेस आपण कसे आणू शकतो की जेणेकरून त्या मुलांमध्ये वेगवेगळ्या ह्या स्किल येतात. म्हणजे याच्यासाठी आपल्याकडे प्रश्न कुठले कुठले आहेत आपले लोकल आणि रिजनल. गाव आहे, गावाचा पाण्याचा प्रश्न आहे, तालुक्याचा बस डेपो आहे, छोटे उद्योग आहे, ग्रामपंचायत मध्ये वेगवेगळे प्रश्न आहेत, आपला GPTP ग्रामपंचायत डेव्हलपमेंट प्लॅन, याच्यामध्ये जर आपण तुम्ही पाहिलं तर विलेज रिसोर्स ग्रुप बनत असतो 30 जणांचा. त्यामध्ये वेगवेगळ्या स्किलची लोक असतात आणि त्यामध्ये एक कन्सल्टंटसाठी पण एक प्रोव्हिजन आहे शासनाकडनं आपल्या की ग्रामपंचायत प्रायव्हेट कन्सल्टंट बोलून त्यांचा डेव्हलपमेंट प्लॅन बनू शकतो. मग खरंच आपल्या इंजिनिअरिंग इन्स्टिट्यूशन किंवा विद्यापीठातली वेगवेगळी कॉलेजेस हे आता इलिजिबल आहेत का की एखाद्या गावाचा विलेज प्लॅन बनवून देऊ शकतील? सपोज समजा एका जिल्ह्यामध्ये सांगली जिल्हा घेतला आपण, तिथले 4 सरपंच तयार झाले की आम्ही 50,000 रुपये घेऊन तयार आहेत, यावर्षी आम्हाला कुठल्या तरी कॉलेजने आमच्या गावाचा विलेज ऍक्शन प्लॅन बनवून द्यावा. ही आपल्या कॉलेजची कॅपॅसिटी आहे का? मग असे अभ्यास केल्यावरती नक्कीच अशा प्रश्नाकडे जाता येईल. मग वेगळे तालुक्यातल्या आश्रमशाळा असतील, शहरातील सांडपाणी व्यवस्थेचे नकाशे बनवणे असेल, जे की डिजिटायझेशन डेटा करणं आहे, तर अशा पद्धतीचे वेगवेगळे विषय घेऊन या केस स्टडी करता येतात. की हे साधी केस स्टडी केलेली आहे BA च्या मुलांनी की आपल्या ग्रामपंचायतमध्ये जे च्या क्षेत्रामध्ये भात या क्षेत्राचं उत्पादन आणि त्याचा खप कसा आहे, की त्याचा अभ्यास, त्याचा नकाशा मांडणे, मग त्याची पूर्वतयारी, ग्रामपंचायतला भेट देणे, माहिती देणं, पत्र लिहिणं ग्रामपंचायतला, त्यांच्याकडनं माहिती जमा करणे, पुरवठा कसा होतो, रेशनचं दुकान कसं चालतं, खप कसा होतो आणि त्याचंही विश्लेषण मांडणं. तर त्या मुलांमध्ये ह्या सगळ्या गोष्टींमधनं तो कम्युनिटी एंगेजमेंट जो आपला महत्वाचा कमवत आहे, तर काय काय येईल त्याच्या विद्यार्थ्यांना प्रत्यक्ष परिस्थितीवर आधारित प्रश्न कसे समजून घेण्यासाठी येईल, स्थानिक भागातील समस्या, विद्यार्थी आणि प्राध्यापक विश्लेषण आणि संशोधन वरतीला नक्कीच चालना मिळेल याच्यातनं. आणि समाज उपयोगी संशोधन सगळ्यात महत्वाचं कंपोनंट की आपल्या NEP मध्ये की कम्युनिटी एंगेजमेंट आपल्याला दाखवायची, तर ती कशा पद्धतीने याच्यातनं आणता येईल. आणि सामुदायिक सहभाग आणि सामुदायिक दायित्व आपण जसं म्हणतो की बऱ्याच वेळेस वरती पण म्हटले की आपण बिहेवियर म्हणजे लोकांमध्ये लोकांचं वागणं सुधारलं पाहिजे. हे जोपर्यंत आपण लोकात जाणार नाहीत आपले विद्यार्थी आणि हीच आपली समाज नागरिक घडणार आहेत, तर अशा स्वरूपाची ही वेगवेगळ्या गोष्टी करता येतील. म्हणजे समस्या ओळखणे, नियोजन कौशल्य, संशोधन कौशल्य, विश्लेषण करता आलं पाहिजे आणि समस्या निराकरण करण्यासाठी त्याच्याकडे कसं पाहायचं. आणि सर्वात महत्वाचं की आपल्याला जॉब मिळाला पाहिजे, व्यावसायिक कौशल्य, अशा स्वरूपाचे कौशल्य तयार आपण हा ॲज अ केस स्टडी करू शकतो. आणि दुसरी गोष्ट, ही केस स्टडी आपल्या UGC आणि NEPच्या नॉर्म्स मध्ये बसते. अनुभव आधारित रोजगारपूरक शिक्षण, प्रादेशिक प्रश्नावर अभ्यास, संशोधन, न्यू एज्युकेशन पॉलिसी, फ्लेक्सिबल इनोव्हेटिव्ह सोल्युशन. तर हे सर्वांना पाहिजे की आता ह्याच्यात मी जस्ट इथे हे 2 गोष्टी करतो की स्टेट्स अँड लोकल कम्युनिटीज अँड मॅप बाय लोकल स्किल्स नीड्स, कम्युनिटी एंगेजमेंट सर्व्हिस आणि मल्टीडिसिप्लिनरी इन्स्टिट्यूशन. आपल्या इन्स्टिट्यूशनला मल्टीडिसिप्लिनरी होण्यासाठी आपण अशा केस स्टडी जर फ्लोट केल्या 3 ब्रँचचे एकत्र फॅकल्टी मिळून, तर नक्कीच मल्टीडिसिप्लिनरीकडे आपण जाऊ. आणि याची सुरुवात की मी म्हणतो की आमच्या गेल्या वर्षीच्या प्रयत्नांनी मुंबई युनिव्हर्सिटीने याची दखल घेऊन अशा पद्धतीचं परिपत्रक काढून कॉलेजेसना दिले आणि आम्ही गेल्या वर्षी एक 14 कॉलेजेस सोबत हा प्रयोग करून पाहितला आहे. आणि याचा प्रयोग आम्ही पुढे पुणे युनिव्हर्सिटी आणि नांदेड युनिव्हर्सिटी सोबत यावर्षी करत आहोत. जसं मॅडमनी म्हणलं की आम्ही एक इलेक्टिव्ह पण आम्ही तयार करत आहोत इंजिनिअरिंग कॉलेजेससाठीचा, की त्यांच्या दिलेल्या सिलेबसमध्येच की आपल्या आजूबाजूचे प्रश्न आणि इंडस्ट्रीला छोटे मोठे लागणारे प्रश्न कसे इन्क्लूड करता येतील आणि त्या मुलांना त्यामध्ये वेगळ्या स्किल कशा आणता येतील, अशा स्वरूपाचं पण हे काम सुरू आहे. तर हे जर पाहिलं तर हा इरिगेशन डिपार्टमेंटचा GR आहे. तुम्ही या GR मध्ये जर पाहिलं तर क्लिअरली म्हटलं राज्यातील अभियांत्रिकी महाविद्यालय तंत्रज्ञान शैक्षणिक संस्थांना विद्यार्थ्यांना जलसंपदा विभागामार्फत हाती घेण्यात येणाऱ्या योजनातील विकास काम आणि संशोधन कामात सहभागी करून घेण्याची योजना. आता असा GR शासनाकडे येतो, त्याच्यात क्लिअर कट म्हटले की काय काय अभ्यास केला पाहिजे, की पाणी वापर संस्था, GIS नकाशे तयार करणे, पाणी वापर संस्थाचे नियोजन करणे, पाण्याचा ताळेबंद करणे किंवा उपसा सिंचन योजनेची व्यवहार्यता पडताळणी करणे, यासाठी त्यांनी मॅनमंथ पण दिलेत. म्हणजे ही ऍक्टिव्हिटी आपल्याला त्यांच्याकडनं ऍज अ कन्सल्टंट म्हणून पण करता येते. आणि आत्ताचा जो रिसेंट जो GR आहे, जर आपण वाचला की ऑटोनॉमस कॉलेजेसनी या वर्षीपासून NEP लागू करावी. तर त्याच्यामध्ये क्लिअर म्हटलेलं आहे की फील्ड बेस्ड लर्निंग प्रॅक्टिसेस, त्याच्यानंतर मिनिमम 26 hours ऑफ लर्निंग ऍक्टिव्हिटीज पर हे दिलं पाहिजे. कम्युनिटी एंगेजमेंट आहे, त्याच्यानंतर इन्व्हॉल्वमेंट असोसिएशन, अशा पद्धतीनं हा वेगवेगळ्या गोष्टी जर आपण केल्या तर आमचं म्हणणं आहे की या केस स्टडी अप्रोच मधनं नक्कीच आपण अशा पद्धतीचं हे करू. आता ह्या ज्या फोटो येतात ह्या आम्ही गेल्या वर्षी 18 कॉलेजेस सोबत इंजिनिअरिंगच्या एक औरंगाबादला वर्कशॉप घेतलं होतं की WRD साठी कसा आपण रिसर्च केला पाहिजे. याच्यासाठी आम्ही 2 दिवसाचं वर्कशॉप घेतलं. एक दिवशी आम्ही मुलांना इरिगेशन डिपार्टमेंट मधली कामं कशी चालतात, अभ्यास कसा केला पाहिजे ॲज अ मायनर आणि छोट्या डिस्ट्रीब्युटिव्ह लेवलवरती. त्याच्यानंतर जायकवाडी व्हिजिट घडून आणली आणि त्यांना असाइनमेंट दिल्या आणि वालचंद कॉलेजची मुलं पण यामध्ये सहभागी होती आणि त्यांनी ती एक असाइनमेंट सबमिट केली की अशा पद्धतीचे आपण मिनी प्रोजेक्ट, चॉईस बेस्ड क्रेडिट सिस्टीम असेल तर वेगवेगळे हे करून या याच्यामधनं केस स्टडीनं करू शकतो. आणि नक्कीच आपण NEP ऍक्शनेबल करण्यासाठी या केस स्टडी अप्रोचचा आपण उपयोग करून NEP ऑपरेशनलायझेशन आणि
थँक्यू
हे करू.
चव्हाण, थँक्यू व्हेरी मच. थँक्यू व्हेरी मच. हा सेकंड इयर लेवलला आमचा कोर्स असतो, बघूया आता काय करता येईल. थँक्यू.
काही प्रश्न असतील तर
आपण आधी पुढे जाऊया. कोणाचे प्रश्न असतील तर ते विचारायला नंतर त्यांना परवानगी देऊ. हॅलो हॅलो.
हा सर. आता
पुढे घ्या. पुढे कोणाला तरी जायचं होतं ना अजून एकाला.
आता प्रताप देसाई चेअरमन IST जॉईन झालेले आहेत.
वा वा, सांगा.
देसाई सर
आहेत का देसाई सर?
हॅलो.
Yes, 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 yes.
हाँ
Sir,
देसाई
namaste.
सर बोला. नमस्ते.
Namaste, namaste. Good evening, one and all present over here. Yes, it's a workshop conducted on the new education policy, and many experts have talked about it. The implementing issues and all other details the experts have talked. I will not take much of your time on that. But my basic thinking is about how we take the new education policy. What exactly is a new education policy? To me, objective of any education policy should be to generate a knowledge, to create a knowledge. Because knowledge is a wealth, we all know that, and more knowledge has a capacity, has a potential to transform the lives, transform the generations. In the recent past, in few years, maybe the after the implementation of Macaulay's education policy, we can say the entire pattern of the education is changed, and our child was forced to learn through imagination. The words like the creativity, thinking are totally eradicated from the education system. And the result of that, because I don't know, I don't want to go to the authenticity of the statement made by the Macaulay, which is available on the website, that he said that I traveled this country along its length and breadth. I have seen no beggar in this country, and so on and so on. Finally, he says that it's almost impossible to conquer this country unless we break its education system. So the education system, why India was having, or why Indian education system was powerful in the world, that's the history says. It was powerful, it was well accepted by the entire globe. And today, the situation of our education system is, on one hand, World Bank says that only 8% to 9% of our engineers are employable. Aspiring Minds talks about some another figure. NASSCOM talks about something different. So we nowadays are focusing on the employability of the students. The objective of the education system, any engineering institute, any university, if you look into, it has become to make our students job ready, or they to prepare them for the jobs. Few months back, I visited one of the reputed institution in Bangalore, and the entire wall was decorated with the names of the companies, those who come for the placements. The mentor of that college, owner of that college, is a top academician. So I met him and I asked him, sir, hey, this many companies come to your college, they this thing provides opportunity to our students. In 2 words, he said, sir, he said, gentlemen, we are going where we have chosen a wrong track. Because the country where the ultimate objective of the education is to get a job, such country will never produce an engineer, never produce an entrepreneur. We can produce only slaves. And what today we are doing is we are following the same path. A survey was conducted by MIT in Indian IITs and NITs on the request of our education ministry. 6,500 students were interviewed and only one question was asked. Why you are into this institution, in this premium institution? 87% student gave a similar answer, and answer was to get a good job. If the cream of a nation thinks of a job, thinks of securing a future, then where is appetite left for the research? Where is appetite left for the innovation? It is said that since 1987, we have not come up with a world-shaking, earth-shaking research. Sir C.V. Raman got his Nobel Prize for his work on the light effects. After that, it doesn't mean that we have done nothing. Yes, we have progressed in many areas. We have done excellent in the green revolution, white revolution. When the US denied the access to the supercomputers for us, we developed credit goes to Bhatkar sir. So many things we have done, but research of that level, we couldn't do. Though what has happened to the Raman's light effect, after that, Raman scanner was never developed in this country. Again, there is a problem in taking the education. We are mistaking between the information and the knowledge and the technology. Whatever we are giving into the classroom is information. Unless that information is thought upon, it will never get converted into the knowledge. And unless that knowledge is solved to real life problem, it will never become a technology. So it's a cycle. A lot of money is required for research. So research is a process of conversion of information into the knowledge. And technology is again, it converts the knowledge into the money. Unless this cycle is complete, no education system will be sustainable. My dear friends, C.V. Raman sir, he did the research on light effects, but the credit of developing a Raman scanner, when it came to earning money, converting that knowledge into the technology, the credit, it was never developed in India. Sir J.C. Bose for the first time talked about the wireless communication, but credit goes to Marconi. When it comes to earn the money, conversion of the technology into the money, knowledge into the technology, we failed into that. And as a result, the figures given into the parliament by the External Affairs Minister in 2019, that almost 7,000 students every year, 7 lakh students every year goes abroad for higher studies, spending 3,50,000 crore rupees every year. And we are talking about the total education budget. Our today's total education budget is 1,21,000. Out of that, hardly 10,000 crore rupees come to the technical education. This is because a student feels that it's a land of opportunity. So when it comes to the conversion of knowledge into the technology, and we are failing, and therefore I feel if this is an approach, this new education policy, it talks about the development of the ecosystem. where the creativity, thinking, knowledge, research, innovation, all these things are done. And it's a right attempt. And therefore, I feel we all have to join hands together and perceive this policy, take this policy very positively. Very positively. And I feel if we take it in the right sense, definitely within no time, we can change the fate of our nation. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you very much, Desai sir. Let us see how educational institutes take it up and progress properly. Narayan?
Yeah, we also now Dr. Prashant Pansare, who is owner of Rubiscape Private Limited, which is a AI-based software company, and with everything now getting talked about AI and ChatGPT, I think he can throw a better light on how the things move. Thank you.
Is he online?
Oops, sorry for that. My mic was on mute. I did not realize that.
Okay.
What I was saying is, Hemanji, it is nice to see you after a while and in good health and good spirits. So wonderful to reconnect with you.
Thank you.
And sorry for joining little late. I had some other prior commitments. But last, sometime I was actually going through the presentations, and it's quite heartening to see that how we are aligning with the new education policy. I'll keep it very concise and precise to the artificial intelligence, because the new education policy is giving a lot of thrust on the new future skilling and education and that alignment. And I think academic deliberations are done. So let me, share with you what is the likely impact on artificial intelligence in education as well as on society as a whole. So when we look at, the AI, AI is not only the simple applications that are running, but underneath, it is basically how you synthesize the data, explore that, do the modeling and experimentation, and then creating the value out of it with ideation, automation, and execution. All these three things. So while it is expected to be reducing the manual intervention, it is likely to be changing or shifting more than 68 million jobs in India in next 2 years. But that, though we consider this as probably the challenging on the flip side of AI, the brighter side is that AI is expected to create more new 72 million jobs, as per the recent study and research report. But those new jobs are going to be a little different. And if we look at that, what are those going to be jobs? Is, say, for example, if it is an underwriter in an insurance company, he's expected to be like a bot, using bots for analyzing the various claims and terms and conditions. If there is a banker who is expected to be servicing customers, they are expected to be forensic experts and doing real-time fraud analysis and fraud detection using AI and machine learning. So the jobs are going to be changing. Hence, tribal skills needs to be upgraded, and the new generation needs to be taught the new skills. And that is where where government also is taking a lot of efforts. Now, let me bring in what government is doing with the Open Government Data Platform, the OGD platform, which is bringing in the different data sets about various industries, be it agriculture, rural development, healthcare. So many different data sets that are coming in. Now, what India has done in past few years is that with UID, we have established an identity layer. And on top of that identity layer, we have established the payment layer, which is UPI. Now, with UPI layer and UID layer, India is set to be e-health ready now, insure tech ready, and agriculture ready. So these are going to be much bigger revolution, because these are going to be the local low-cost innovations, same like UPI in the ecosystem. Now, government is actually bringing in a lot of data, whether it is now related to healthcare or citizen interaction, governance, your Aadhaar, TIN, DIN, these kind of initiatives are generating the data which is related to your transactions, and we've seen that whether it is DigiLocker or, your GST collections that are coming in, there is an expected ecosystem that can leverage and monetize this data for artificial intelligence. Because when you're talking about single window citizen services, and the gentleman was talking about some of the very interesting rural use cases. त्या use cases मधनं काय impact होऊ शकतो, local impact काय होऊ शकतो. So there are so many systems, that can be built by artificial intelligence. So दोन slides मध्ये I want to, quickly explain this, that when we talk about data science, it is basically one side you have the data creators, value creators, or people who are doing experimentations and modeling. And on the right hand side, you have the data consumers and the execution side of it, right? So in artificial intelligence, what happens is that your data consumers and data managers are replaced by bots and machines. For example, if I'm doing crop surveillance, म्हणजे मी शेताच्या पिकाची जर का पाहणी करतोय, तर तिथे मी काही लोक ठेवली आहेत, मे बी ते पूर्वी जसं गोफण असायचं आणि ते गोफण लावून जर का तिकडे शेताची निगराणी ठेवली जाते. आज काय होतंय तर फ्लाइंग ड्रोन्स आर डुईंग इट. मग तिथे एखाद्या शेतामध्ये काहीतरी एखादं रानडुक्कर आलंय का, तिथे काही टोळधाड आली आहे, आणि युझिंग कम्प्युटर विजन अँड ड्रोन्स दे विल हॅव अ अलर्ट सिस्टम. मग तिथे काही सायरन्स असतील किंवा तिथे काही दुसऱ्या सिस्टम्स असतील विच नीड्स टू बी इन्व्होक्ड. So the bots are real-time monitoring instead of human being. म्हणजे त्या मॅनपॉवरची अवेलेबिलिटी, स्किल्स 24/7 त्यांचं नेचर असणं, आणि दुसऱ्या साईडला मशीन्स आर जनरेटिंग दॅट डेटा, आणि थ्रू ऑटोमेशन वी आर कनेक्टिंग देम. सो बऱ्याच त्याच्यातल्या गोष्टी अशा आहेत की तुमचे वेदर प्रिडिक्शन्स फोरकास्ट असतील किंवा बिझनेस फोरकास्ट असतील. देर आर सो मेनी थिंग्स विच आर रिक्वायर्ड. जसं आता आपल्याला पेमेंट गेटवे आहे की त्याच्यामध्ये आपण 2 टॅप वरती, वेदर इट इज पेटीएम, फोन पे, वी आर ऍक्च्युअली बाईंग द गुड्स ऑनलाईन, वेदर इट इज फूड, मेडिसिन. जस्ट इमॅजिन की लॉकडाऊन मध्ये जर का पेमेंट गेटवे नसतं आणि आपल्याकडे जर का युपीआय सारखी सुविधा नसती, तर किती केऑस रस्त्यावरती झाला असता की लोक बँकेत जात आहेत पैसे काढण्यासाठी, पैसे काढून मग ते भाज्या घ्यायला, ग्रोसरी घ्यायला किंवा फूड मेडिसिन घ्यायला जात आहेत. सो डिजिटल आणि एआय is not a curse, but it is a blessing in some ways. And yes, it is going to change some of the jobs. It is not going to only reduce or, so few jobs will change, but new jobs will be created. म्हणून हा जो एक थोडासा पॉझिटिव्ह आउटलुक जो आता येतोय की डिजिटल इंडिया बद्दलचा आणि एआय आणि मशीन लर्निंग. सो द ब्राइटर साइड इज दॅट टुडे वी हॅव 4,20,000 वर्कफोर्स दॅट इज देअर वर्किंग इन डेटा सायन्स अँड मशीन लर्निंग. पण आता भारतामध्येच 6,80,000 लोक पाहिजेत मशीन लर्निंग अँड डेटा सायन्स मध्ये काम करणारी, विच इज ऍक्च्युअली 50% ऑफ मोर कपॅसिटी. आणि म्हणून डेटा सायन्स अँड आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजन्स स्किलिंग प्रोग्राम्स असतील किंवा ह्या गोष्टी पण फार प्रामुख्याने पाहिजे आहेत. सो इथे जर का आता बघितलं ना, तर ह्या काही यूज केसेस आणि ऍप्लिकेशन्स आहेत, आणि लेट मी शो सम ऑफ दीज ऍप्लिकेशन्स अँड यूज केसेस. ऑडिओ अनालिटिक्स आहे, किंवा तुमचं आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजन्स इमेज प्रोसेसिंग आहे, स्मार्ट सिटी सारखे काही प्रोजेक्ट्स आहेत, सॅटेलाइट इमेज प्रोसेसिंगचे आहेत. सो आता इथे मी हे ऑडिओ अनालिटिक्सची एक यूज केस दाखवतो की हे कशा पद्धतीने वापरता येऊ शकतात. वेदर इट इज गव्हर्नमेंट ऑर एनी कंपनी, सिंगल विंडो क्लिअरन्स किंवा कॉल सेंटर आपण म्हणतो, कोविडची हेल्पलाईन आहे किंवा गव्हर्नमेंट आणि म्युन्सिपालिटीच्या काही हेल्पलाईन्स आहेत. तर ह्याच्यामध्ये व्हॉट वी आर डुईंग इज फर्स्ट is that we are doing the audio analytics and converting this audio into a speech, आणि स्पीच ला आपण कन्वर्ट करतोय टेक्स्ट मध्ये, आणि टॉपिक मॉडेलिंग हे डेटा सायन्सचं टेक्निक वापरून आपण त्याचा टेक्स्ट एक्स्ट्रॅक्ट करतोय. म्हणजे अगदी सोप्या शब्दात सांगायचं झालं तर बँकेमध्ये मला जर का माझ्या क्रेडिट कार्डवरनं फ्रॉड झालाय किंवा माझं कार्ड इज मिसिंग आणि आय एम कॉलिंग द कॉल सेंटर, तर मी त्यांना फोन करून सांगतोय की माझं कार्ड लॉस झालेलं आहे, आणि माझं अशी समजा एक 5,000 कॉल्स बँकेला येत आहेत किंवा म्युन्सिपल ऑफिसमध्ये येत आहेत. तर जेवढं 5,000 कॉल येत आहेत म्हणजे मला 500 लोकांना एम्प्लॉय करायची गरज नाहीये. माझे एआय आणि बॉटचे जे एजंट्स असतील ते रिअल टाइम ऑडिओ फाईल कन्वर्ट करतील स्पीच मध्ये, स्पीच टू टेक्स्ट, आणि टेक्स्ट मधनं इथे मी जर का त्याच्यावर क्लिक केलं तर तो म्हणेल की अरे क्रेडिट कार्ड डिले इन डिस्पॅच किंवा फ्रॉड रिपोर्टिंग. ना फ्रॉड रिपोर्टिंग वर क्लिक केलं तर तो फ्रॉड ऍट एअरपोर्ट, फ्रॉड व्हाईल डुईंग ई कॉमर्स ट्रान्झॅक्शन, फ्रॉड व्हाईल ऍट द मर्चंट किंवा हॉस्पिटल पेईंग बिल. सो हे जे आहे ना, आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजन्समुळे त्याची इफिशियन्सी वाढणार आहे. कॉलरची इफिशियन्सी आहे, सेंटिमेंट अनालिसिस आहे की युजर्सला किती पद्धतीने पटापट त्यांना रिस्पॉन्सेस मिळतोय. कारण आज हजारो सिटीजन्स असतील, वेदर इट इज गव्हर्नमेंटचं कॉल सेंटर आहे किंवा प्रायव्हेट कंपनीचं कॉल सेंटर आहे, आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजन्स अशा बऱ्याच गोष्टींमध्ये हे करू शकतं. यू कॅन इमॅजिन की जेव्हा कोविडच्या हेल्पलाईन्स होत्या तेव्हा मिलियन्स ऑफ कॉल्स वेअर गोईंग, पीपल वेअर इन पॅनिक, आणि दे वॉज ट्रिमेंडस लोड. सो व्हॉट हॅपन्स की जसं पॉवर आउटेज होतं तसं जर का तुमच्या त्या फोन लाईन्स कॉन्स्टंट एंगेज लागल्या आहेत आणि सिटीजनना त्यांचा रिस्पॉन्स मिळाला नाहीये, तर यू कॅन इमॅजिन दॅट नॉट ओनली देर इज अ पॅनिक बट देर इज ऑल्सो अनरेस्ट दॅट हॅपन्स. अँड म्हणून AI सारख्या टेक्नॉलॉजीज तिथे फार महत्वाच्या आहेत. इथे जर का बघितलं तर आता समजा आणखीन 1-2 यूज केसेस दाखवतो मी. एअर क्वालिटी इंडेक्स ही जर का आपण बघितलं तर हा पुणे स्मार्ट सिटीचा सॅम्पल डेटा घेतला गेलेला आहे आणि ह्याच्यामध्ये हा डेटा ISC बँगलोरने दिलेला आहे आणि पुण्यातल्या सगळ्या सेन्सर्सचा डेटा एकत्र करून याच्यामध्ये व्हॉट वी आर डुईंग इज की टाइम सिरीज अनालिसिस अप्लाय केलंय की गेल्या 3 वर्षांमध्ये पुण्याची पॉप्युलेशन किती होती. साधारण 60 लाखाच्या आसपास पॉप्युलेशन आहे आणि एअर क्वालिटीचा इंडेक्स किती आहे. मग त्याच्यामध्ये पोल्युटिंग फॅक्टर्स काय, समजा व्हेकल पोल्युशन आहे, इंडस्ट्रियल पोल्युशन आहे आणि क्लायमेट चेंजमुळे होणारं वेदर बेस्ड पोल्युशन पण आहे. सो व्हेकल पोल्युशन, मग पुण्यात किती व्हेकल्स आहेत, कुठल्या पिनकोड वरती, कुठल्या रिजनल ह्याच्यामध्ये किती व्हेकल्स, पीक अवर्स, नॉन पीक अवर्स, आणि मग तो पोल्युशन किती जनरेट करतोय. मग त्याच्या पुढची स्टेज जी येते की हे एकदा लक्षात आल्यानंतर की त्याचा त्या व्हेकल पोल्युशनचा इम्पॅक्ट सिटीजन हेल्थ वरती कसा होतोय. सिनियर सिटीजन्स विथ कार्डियाक कंडिशन, विदाउट कार्डियाक कंडिशन, स्त्रीवरती त्याचा परिणाम काय होतोय, विथ इन्फंट, गरोदर स्त्रिया असेल, लहान बाळं असतील त्यांच्यावरती काय परिणाम होतोय, ग्रीन कव्हर वरती किती परिणाम होतोय, प्लांट्स वरती, पिण्याच्या पाण्यावरती त्याचा परिणाम कसा होतोय. टाइम सिरीज मध्ये पुढच्या 5 वर्षात पुण्याची पॉप्युलेशन किती वाढणार आहे, व्हेकल्स किती वाढतील, त्याचं पोल्युशन किती वाढेल, मग त्याचा इम्पॅक्ट काय होऊ शकेल. की ह्या अशा ज्या काही यूज केसेस आहेत की ह्याच्यातही बऱ्याचशा गोष्टी सर्वसामान्य लोकांना व्यवस्थित कळू शकतात. ही एक टायनी ऑब्जेक्ट डिटेक्शन नावाचं शेवटचं एक उदाहरण देतो मी. सॅटेलाइट इमेजिंग करताना ह्याच्यामधनं काय आपण करतोय की सॅटेलाइटचे इमेजेस घेतोय आणि मग त्याच्यात रस्त्यावरती किती खड्डे आहेत, स्मार्ट पार्किंग होत आहे का नाही, ट्रॅफिक कंजेशन कुठे होतंय किंवा अतिक्रमण कुठे आहे. सॅटेलाइट वरनच जर का तुम्ही हे केलं तर बिल्डिंगला FSI ग्रांट किती झालेला आहे आणि त्याचं कलेक्शन किती होत आहे. ह्या जर का यूज केसेस आपण जर का बघितल्या तर तिथे तुम्हाला कुठल्याही म्युन्सिपाल्टीच्या माणसाला असं जाऊन तिकडे हे करायची गरजच नाहीये की अतिक्रमणसाठी पट्टी गेलाय आणि मोजतोय. वरनं तुम्ही सॅटेलाइट वरनं इमेज करून त्याचं मार्क करू शकता. इकडच्या सगळ्यात डावीकडच्या एक्स्ट्रीम इमेज मध्ये तुम्ही बघू शकता की दोज व्हेकल्स आर पार्क प्रॉपरली, दॅट्स वाय इट इज शोईंग इन ग्रीन. आणि मग त्याच्यामध्ये तुमचं ट्रॅफिक कंजेशन काय होत आहे, कुठे काय कशा पद्धतीने होत आहे, सर्व्हेलन्स असेल, डिफेन्स असेल, याच्यासाठी तुम्हाला बऱ्याच गोष्टी करता येतात. किंवा बरेचदा तुम्हाला जेव्हा व्हिडिओ अनालिटिक्स आपण म्हणतो, सीसीटीव्ही अनालिटिक्स किंवा काही, याच्यामध्ये तुम्ही हे बघू शकता की इथं माणूस उभा आहे, पळतोय, चालतोय, तो शूटिंग करतोय, स्टोन पेडलिंग करतोय. तर ह्याला इमेज प्रोसेसिंग आणि व्हिडिओ अनालिटिक्सच्या तंत्रज्ञानाचा वापर करून त्याचे सगळे ते इन्सिडेंट रिपोर्टिंग, ऍक्टिव्हिटी मॉनिटरिंग, त्याच्यातनं येणारे अलर्ट्स, ह्या सगळ्या होतात. म्हणजे पोलिसांना 24/7 जर का निगराणी राखायची असेल तर लेट्स ऑल्सो बी ह्युमन टू देम. मग AI ची टेक्नॉलॉजी तिकडे त्यांना बरीच चांगली हे करता येऊ शकेल. सो लॉंग स्टोरी शॉर्ट, व्हॉट आय वॉन्ट टू रिअली शेअर की म्हणून आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजन्सचं महत्व आता वाढतंय. आता आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजन्सचं महत्व वाढतंय, डेटा सोर्सेस वाढतायत. मग नवीन शैक्षणिक धोरणाच्या नुसार आपण हे कशा पद्धतीने इन्स्टिट्यूशन्स तयार आहेत, त्यांच्याकडे इन्फ्रास्ट्रक्चर, सॉफ्टवेअर टूल्स आहेत का, फॅकल्टीजकडे तो नोहाऊ आहे का, रिसर्च कम्युनिटी कशा पद्धतीने एकत्र येते आणि एकत्र येऊन ते नॉलेज कशा पद्धतीने क्रिएट करतायत. मग स्टुडंट्सना त्यांचे प्रोजेक्ट्स मिळत आहेत, ते काहीतरी असे वेगवेगळे एक्सपेरिमेंटेशन करतायत, त्याच्यातनं स्टार्टअप आयडियाज येत आहेत, इनोव्हेशन इन्क्युबेशन येत आहे. सो ही सगळी इंटिग्रेटेड चेन आहे. आणि म्हणून नवीन एज्युकेशन पॉलिसीमध्ये त्यांनी थ्रस्ट जो दिलेला आहे हा इनोव्हेशन आणि लोकल लो कॉस्ट इनोव्हेशन वरती आणि प्रॉडक्ट डेव्हलपमेंट वरती जास्ती दिलाय, जी मला खूप एक स्तुत्य उपक्रम वाटतोय. आणि त्याच्यामध्ये इंडस्ट्री अकॅडमी इंटरॅक्शन जे आहे हे आणखीन वाढण्यासाठी ते फार पोषक ठरेल. दिस इज व्हॉट आय फील.
थँक्यू प्रशांत. व्हेरी नाईस प्रेझेंटेशन.
थँक्यू.
नारायण.
हॅलो
नारायण.
हॅलो. हॅलो.
नेक्स्ट.
हा सर.
बोला.
प्रोफेसर BN चौधरी सर
बोलतायत का?
आहेत ना. चौधरी सर. हॅलो
हॅलो,
BN
नारायण.
चौधरी. हा या हॅलो.
बोला चौधरी सर, बोला. प्लीज गो अहेड.
Listening now. I have a quick suggestion. I mean, yes, technologies will keep changing, but we should not forget that our job is to produce the same products. Like while education and industry are often treated as monocolor entity, but it's not so. Education and as well as industry have infinite colors. So we must identify the layer of economy to which the college is serving.
व्हिडिओ ऑन करा चौधरी सर. व्हिडिओ ऑन करा सर. व्हिडिओ.
Yeah. Hello. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible and visible.
Yeah, thank you, sir. And purpose of layer of, because we have 45,000 colleges, so we must where and what are the layers. And my sincere appeal, particularly we are not understanding one credit. Worldwide, it is 45 hours engagement of the learner. Generalizing it like engineering education in particular. Lastly, implementing the NEP, we must be minor. It has to be, these minors should be truly multidisciplinary. I have checked with few colleges, they are again stepping back into the same old law that one branch is offering minor of other branch. Or for us, it has become, we had conveniently defined multidisciplinary as another branch of engineering other than the branch they are pursuing. At a times, I have seen BTech computer program science or with a minor in AI/ML. I think this will not let the students learn finance, economics, even law, liberal sciences, even performing arts. Place like Sangli, it should not be an issue to offer the multidisciplinary, because particularly at your place nearby, you have several higher level institutions. And we must core branch should not get impacted by several these things coming in a curriculum. See, जेवणात लोणचं पापड चटण्या असाव्या, परंतु कोर जो भाग आहे तोही लागतोच, नाही ते कॅलरीज पाहिजे तेवढे मिळत नाही. विथ दिस आय थँक्यू.
Thank you, Dr. BN Chaudhary. We have already defined the credit framework that 50% of the core courses have to be taught in 4-year program. So that will go on strictly as per the policy. And I'm sure your suggestion is very valid that we should make sure that multidisciplinary inputs are given through minor.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yes, Narayan, what next?
Sir, Nandavdekar, sir, please.
Arre wah.
Ex-registrar Shivaji University and now
Yes.
SNDT.
सर नमस्कार.
Namaste, Nandavdekar. Bola.
हा आता जवळजवळ सगळ्याच गुरुंनी NEP वरती अगदी डिटेल मध्ये डिस्कशन करून सगळं त्यांनी इनपुट दिलेलं आहे. फक्त मी विद्यापीठात गेली 5 वर्ष शिवाजी विद्यापीठात काम करत असताना आणि आता इकडे काम करत असताना SNDT मध्ये NEP इम्प्लिमेंटेशन पॉइंट ऑफ व्ह्यू मध्ये तर बेनिफिट्स किंवा ट्रान्सफर होतं तर ह्याच्यावरती आपण थोडस की आम्हाला ज्या एक्झिक्युशन फेज मध्ये जे बेनिफिट्स पाहायला मिळतात की मग ते बास्केट सिस्टम असेल किंवा मेजर अँड मायनर कोर्सेस असतील तर त्या कोर्सेसमध्ये आपल्याला कोर्स डिफाईन करून प्रोसेस सिस्टम मध्ये म्हणजे आपण जे ऑडिट करून क्रेडिट सिस्टम मध्ये ट्रान्सफर करणार आहोत आणि क्रेडिट सिस्टम मध्ये ट्रान्सफर करत असताना त्याचा क्रेडिट ट्रान्सफर म्हणजे वन इन्स्टिट्यूट टू अदर इन्स्टिट्यूट किंवा वन प्रोग्राम त्याच इन्स्टिट्यूट मध्ये दुसरा प्रोग्राम रन होत असतो त्यांच्याकडून ते क्रेडिट आपल्याला हे करायला लागणार आहे. त्यामुळे विद्यार्थ्यांना याच्या फ्लेक्झिबिलिटीचा फायदा खूप होणार आहे. पण ऑपरेशनल थोड्याशा डिफिकल्टी आहेत. त्या डिफिकल्टी आपण सगळ्यांनी जर विचारात घेतल्या तर NEPचा फायदा हा ओव्हरऑल आपल्या सर्व सिस्टम मध्ये म्हणजे आता जे तज्ञ मार्गदर्शक होते मग ते NITचे असतील IITचे असतील तर त्यांनी जे सांगितलं ते नक्कीच प्रत्येक विद्यार्थ्याला त्याचा फायदा माननीय पंतप्रधानांचं जे हे आहे एम आहे तर त्याला तो सपोर्ट होईल. तर एक्झिक्युशन पॉइंट ऑफ व्ह्यू आम्ही विद्यापीठे त्याचबरोबर इन्स्टिट्यूट हे प्रयत्न करत आहोत. सध्या NEP ही इम्प्लिमेंटेशन ऍज पर द गाईडलाईन्स ऑफ गव्हर्नमेंट ऑफ महाराष्ट्र हा युनिव्हर्सिटी PG डिपार्टमेंट अँड ऑटोनॉमस इन्स्टिट्यूट मध्ये आपण सुरुवात केलेली आहे आणि ह्या सुरुवात करत असताना चांगल्या प्रकारे सुरुवात झालेली आहे. म्हणजे ऑटोनॉमस इन्स्टिट्यूटनेही त्याचं वेलकम केलेलं आहे. तर ऑटोनॉमस इन्स्टिट्यूट मध्ये शिकणाऱ्या विद्यार्थ्यांना याचा चांगल्या प्रकारे फायदा होणार आहे आणि त्याचं आउटकम जे आहे ते नक्कीच आपल्याला या 2-3 वर्षात पाहायला मिळेल. तर मला या ठिकाणी इतकंच पहिल्यांदा मला सांगावं असं वाटतं. ओव्हर टू यू सर. थँक्यू फॉर इन्व्हाइटिंग मी.
Very nice. Nandwadkar sir, we are not interested in only talking about what are the difficulties, why it is difficult to him. Actually, we are trying to sort out difficulties and find out how we can implement it by smoothly so that difficulties are overcome by all institutions. That is how we are trying to discuss this. Anyway, Narayan.
आता डॉक्टर VN शिंदे सर रजिस्ट्रार शिवाजी कोल्हापूर आणि त्यानंतर मग यादव सर आहेत आधी कोण आणि जॉईन झालं नाही.
व्हेरी गुड, व्हेरी गुड, व्हेरी गुड. शिंदे सरांनी काही एक्सरसाइज केला असेल तर आम्हाला सांगा कसं तुम्ही ओव्हरकम करताय अडचणी येत आहेत त्या.
सर्वांना नमस्कार सर. शिवाजी विद्यापीठामध्ये याबद्दलची सुरुवात किंवा तयारी ही बऱ्याच दिवसापासून सुरू झाली आणि आता सुद्धा महाराष्ट्र शासनाकडून राष्ट्रीय शैक्षणिक धोरण 2020 ची अंमलबजावणी करत असताना बऱ्याच इनपुट हे शिवाजी विद्यापीठाकडून देण्यात येतं. त्यामुळं विद्यार्थ्यांच्या दृष्टिकोनातून अंमलबजावणीच्या दृष्टीनं तशा फारशा खूप अडचणी आहेत अशातला कुठला भाग दिसून येत नाही. खरं सांगायचं झालं तर हे राष्ट्रीय शैक्षणिक धोरण 2020 जे आलेलं आहे ते खूप चांगलं आलेलं आहे. अशा पद्धतीचे बदल हे खूप वर्षापूर्वीच व्हायला पाहिजे होते. वेगवेगळ्या क्षेत्रामध्ये बघत असताना त्याच्यामध्ये असणाऱ्या अडचणी दिसून येत होत्या. उदाहरणार्थ क्रीडा पत्रकारितेसारखं क्षेत्र आपल्याकडे अजून तेवढं विस्तृत झालेलं नाही किंवा विज्ञान पत्रकारिता
हा कन्सेप्ट मराठीमध्ये अजून रुजू शकलेला नाही. त्यामुळं राष्ट्रीय शैक्षणिक धोरण विद्यार्थ्यांच्या दृष्टिकोनातून, विद्यार्थ्यांना घडवण्याच्या दृष्टिकोनातून, त्यांना हव्या त्या पद्धतीचं आणि हव्या त्या विषयांचं शिक्षण घेण्याच्या दृष्टिकोनातून अतिशय उत्तम आहे आणि त्याची शिवाजी विद्यापीठ पूर्ण क्षमतेनं अंमलबजावणी करण्याचा प्रयत्न करते. अंमलबजावणीमध्ये तशा ज्या चेंजेस करावे लागतात, उदाहरणार्थ आता सॉफ्टवेअरमध्ये खूप मोठ्या प्रमाणात बदल करावे लागतात. आमच्याकडे पीजी डिप्लोमा अनेक होते. ज्या विद्यार्थ्यांनी प्रथम हा पीजी डिप्लोमा पूर्ण केलेला असेल त्या विद्यार्थ्याला आता थेट सेकंड इयरला प्रवेश द्यायचा आहे. त्यामुळे त्याचं PRN पासून सगळं रेकॉर्ड जे आहे ते आम्हाला आमच्या सॉफ्टवेअरमध्ये बदलून घ्यावं लागणार आहे. अशा पद्धतीच्या गोष्टी आहेत, पण त्या कराव्या लागणार आहेत. कारण आता आपण अशा स्टेजला आलेलो आहे की आपल्याला अंमलबजावणी केलीच पाहिजे. त्यामुळं अडचणी अशा आमच्याकडे फार मोठ्या कुठल्या आम्हाला दिसून येत नाही. मात्र राष्ट्रीय शैक्षणिक धोरणाचा मसुदा आल्यापासून आजही मी त्या धोरणाबद्दल कायम वाचन आणि चिंतन चालू असतं. त्यातला एक मुद्दा यापूर्वीही बोलण्यात आलेला आहे, तो म्हणजे वित्तीय व्यवस्थापनाबद्दल फारसं काही या याच्यामध्ये नाही आणि त्याच्याबद्दल शासन स्तरावरती काही सूचना ह्या समाज कल्याण विभागाकडे आणि ज्या ज्या ठिकाणावरून विद्यार्थ्यांचं शुल्क परतावा होतं तिकडे जाणं आवश्यक आहे. ही अडचण एक येणार आहे, दिसते ती स्पष्ट. तर त्या गोष्टीच्या बद्दल एक थोडासा जर आपल्या या प्लॅटफॉर्मवरून किंवा कुठूनही आम्ही प्रशासनाच्या पातळीवरून शिवाजी विद्यापीठ म्हणून याचा पाठपुरावा करायला सुरुवात केलेली आहे. तो एक महत्वाचा भाग आहे, कारण ते विद्यार्थ्यांच्यासाठी सुद्धा अडचण उद्भवू शकते. दुसरा एक भाग थोडासा क्लिअर व्हायला पाहिजे, तो आमच्याकडचा ऑर्डिनन्स आम्ही राष्ट्रीय शैक्षणिक धोरणाच्या अनुषंगानं बदललेला आहे. पण अकॅडमिक बँक ऑफ क्रेडिटमध्ये 7 वर्ष ते क्रेडिट राहू शकणार आहे. हे 7 वर्ष माझं जे समज आहे त्याच्याप्रमाणे त्या वर्षासाठी असणार आहे. कारण प्रत्येक वर्षी जर विद्यार्थ्याने शिक्षण प्रवाहाच्या बाहेर जायचं म्हटलं तर त्याचं आपण कुठल्या तरी फॉर्ममध्ये सर्टिफिकेशन करणार आहोत. मग ते सर्टिफिकेट असेल, डिप्लोमा असेल किंवा पदवी असेल. त्यामुळं माझ्या समजुतीप्रमाणे ते, पण तो एक मुद्दा क्लिअर व्हायला पाहिजे. तिसरा एक मुद्दा, मला AICTEच्या माध्यमातून ज्या काही स्कीम आलेल्या आहेत त्या स्थानिक किंवा मातृभाषेतून शिक्षण देण्यावरती अगदी प्राथमिक शिक्षणापासून ते उच्च शिक्षणापर्यंत सर्व स्तरावरती राष्ट्रीय शैक्षणिक धोरणामध्ये भर दिसून येतो. त्या दृष्टीने AICTEनं यापूर्वीच काही स्कीम आणलेले आहेत. ट्रान्सलेशन ऑफ बुक्स इन रिजनल ऑर लोकल लँग्वेजेस. ट्रान्सलेशनच्या बरोबरीनं मूळ पुस्तकाचीच निर्मिती या भाषातून होण्यासाठी प्राधान्य द्यायला पाहिजे. आणि तसं करण्यासाठी खूप मोठ्या प्रमाणात नसतील पण काही प्रमाणात का होईना लोक तयार आहेत, त्या दृष्टीने व्हायला पाहिजे. अर्थात मातृभाषेतून शिक्षण देत असताना किंवा स्थानिक भाषेतून शिक्षण देत असताना भाषेच्या बद्दल सुद्धा खूप लिबरल राहण्याची आवश्यकता आहे. जर टेक्निकल किंवा सायन्स एज्युकेशन लक्षात घेतलं तर मी विज्ञान प्रसारासाठी पण लेखन करतो. त्याच्यातला एक भाग म्हणून मी आवर्जून सांगू इच्छितो की 2019 हे आवर्त सारणी वर्ष साजरं झालं आणि त्या वर्षामध्ये मी एक पुस्तक लिहित होतो. ते पुस्तक लिहित असताना मला रेफरन्सेस घेत असताना रॉयल सोसायटी ऑफ केमिस्ट्री लंडन यांच्याशी सातत्यानं कॉन्टॅक्टमध्ये होतो आणि त्यांच्याकडून अशी ऑफर आलेली होती की हे पुस्तक तुम्ही इंग्रजीत लिहा. त्यावेळेस ते पुस्तक मी मराठीतूनच लिहिणार हा आग्रही धरला, मराठीतून लिहिलं आणि आता त्याचं इंग्रजीतून भाषांतर त्यांच्यातर्फे चालू. तर हे आपल्याकडे करणारी लोक आहेत. त्या दृष्टीने सुद्धा AICTEनं किंवा ज्या अपेक्स बॉडीज असतील त्यांनी प्रमोशन करायला पाहिजे अशा ऍक्टिव्हिटीचं. आणि त्या दृष्टीने सुद्धा काही स्कीम्स, योजना असतील तर त्या जाहीर करायला पाहिजेत, नसतील तर त्या तयार करायला पाहिजेत. असे काही राष्ट्रीय शैक्षणिक धोरणाच्या अनुषंगानं एक प्रशासकीय अधिकारी, त्याचबरोबर सायन्स पॉप्युलरायझेशन साठी काम करणारा एक अंगात असलेला शिक्षक म्हणून मला या ठिकाणी आवर्जून सांगावंसं वाटतं. अर्थात मातृभाषेतून शिक्षण दिल्यामुळं बदल पडेल किंवा हे होईल हे आता आपण अजून त्याच्यामध्ये गेलेलो नाही म्हणून आपल्याला तशी भीती वाटते. पण शुद्ध मराठीतून जर पुस्तक लिहायचं म्हटलं विज्ञानाचं किंवा तंत्रज्ञानाचं तर ते सुद्धा समजणं खूप अवघड जाणार आहे. त्यामुळं भाषिक आपल्याला थोडीशी लिबर्टी घेऊन, स्वातंत्र्य घेऊन अशा प्रकारची विज्ञान तंत्रज्ञानाची पुस्तकं आपल्या रिजनल लँग्वेजमध्ये आवर्जून आणली पाहिजेत. त्या दृष्टीने प्रयत्न सुरू झालेले आहेत. ते आणखी थोडे ब्रॉड व्हावेत अशी एक अपेक्षा मला वाटते. या ठिकाणी मला बोलण्याची संधी दिल्याबद्दल मी आभार मानतो आणि थांबतो. जय हिंद.
खूप छान. it is very important that we should take this policy forward in a positive way, and whatever difficulties we may face, we have to overcome them, and we should share how we are overcoming them. That is what is important. It's very nice. Let us move forward. Narayan, anybody else is going to make comments?
Yadav, sir.
Can you please, can I make a small presentation?
Yes, of course, sir.
Okay. Can you see that?
Sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, just okay. Good evening, everybody. I was listening to all of you very intently. So I'm not going to talk about the basics, what is there in NEP and how it should be done, what is the role of colleges, universities, engineering colleges, and whatnot. I'm going to go beyond this and tell you something how to make it effective, what is lacking in NEP, and what needs to be done. And because there's a lot of freedom given to the academic institutions. So I'll tell you, I have acronym this scheme called SIR. So I will explain to you what is meant by that. The role of innovation, incubation, and all that, and the startup culture. So everybody in this world, you know, this is the motto of Olympics. You know that we want to go, you know, stronger, higher, and faster. This is what we want to do. So listen. So because NEP is a revolutionary document, which, you know, like Pratap Desai was telling that, you know, Machiavelli's system and how it destroyed our educational system. Now that is part of the history. We cannot undo it. But can we do something new which will be useful to the current student, and particularly in the tertiary education? And that ranges from content, the delivery, internship, research, innovation, translation, collaboration with the other leading institutions and industries. Now, this is the time where, you know, for us to have major and minor degrees and designer degrees with multiple exit options, which NEP is talking about. But I'll tell you something else also. So tertiary education institutions are supposed to be multidisciplinary. How can it happen when you are giving autonomy to colleges? UGC says that, well, we should have autonomy, and I know that Maharashtra has more than now 90 colleges which are autonomous. So how do you have multidiscipline? That means you have to join hands with somebody else, some other institute, or you do online courses, okay, like MOOC and all. Then only that can happen. Otherwise, a single institute cannot have so many disciplines, and they will there lose their own charm. So let us look at some of these things. One of the things which, you know, all this NEP is missed about, and I have written an article which should come up next week, is the semester system is a bad system. I'm telling you that. Because we engage the student for 10 months, and the student is useless afterwards. 2 months he spends his time, he doesn't know what to do. So this is where we should have a trimester system. That is 4 months term. And you have, this can be included for both UG and PG. And I did it. I have made it successful in ICT, you know, in Bhubaneswar and Jalna. So I will tell you how the system works. That means, you know, this is, for example, the MTech program. This is MTech program. You can have MA program integrated. You can have MCOM program integrated. Every alternate term, the student goes for work term or industry. And that work term can be anywhere. And I have given the idea how to make it successful. Okay, it is not just industry, but somewhere else the student gets, you know, experience. Like earlier, we had law colleges where you have evening colleges. Why? Because students used to work during the day. But how do you make it effective in today's world? So for example, if you have a work term, In trimester system, what happens? In the first trimester, the class is engaged there. And in the next trimester onwards, it is divided into two. One part of that goes into the industry or work term and another remains in the classroom. And they alternate. And at the end of the 13th trimester, 14 and 15, they come back to the school, to the university or college, and they do a project which can lead to a startup company. That is the whole idea. So it is not, and you can have more of this, major, minor terms, degrees in that. So which I did and I'm very happy to tell you that I started this program in 2018, much before NEP. And the first batch came out this year. 20 of these students from both these campuses got full PhD fellowships in USA and Canada. They were in great demand. And many industry, in fact, they had 6, trimester, that is 2 years industrial experience, because it is alternated. And how did we do it? So in the first trimester, we gave them courses in Python and whatnot, and MATLAB and all those things. So you can integrate AI, ML, data analytics, whatever is being talked about, that is to be taken as a tool, for this. So you can have this tool, which is, integrated with your major program, because you want to make use of this technique, like Mr. Pansari was talking about. And so what happens, this is one part of the story. Then the next part is, how do you evaluate the students? Because if the students are going to be there for a short period, that means 70% of the, marks, or whatever you call it as, that should be, continuous evaluation. The student need not, have the cramming to the memory and rote learning and whatever. So you have this, and you have best of 5. They may, so somehow somebody misses the examination. You need not worry, because there are additional examinations. That way, and only 30% is the end trimester. So that way the student is always studying, he's not stressed. And you see some of the best institutions in the world, the IITs, a lot of students have committed suicide. Why? So you should understand that the students is always under stress. So in this system, what happens, the student goes to the industry, learns from the work culture. He knows what is happening. And I'm telling you from my personal experience, this system will be wonderful for, India. So this is continuous evaluation, and there is a vibrant syllabus here. Are you able to see my slides? Hello?
Yeah.
Are you able to, you can see, right?
Yes, yes.
So I said, the syllabus is vibrant because the student comes back from industry and tells the professors and the administrators that system has to be changed. This is what the industry is expecting and our courses do not have. So that is one of the ideas of this vibrant syllabus. Then the student, what I meant by SIR, this is student internship responsibility. Like you have a corporate social responsibility, something like we should have this, like 0.5% of the profit of the industry must be given towards internship. So because you see how many students are going to universities and all. So this will be integrated with the placement cells, and the placement set should be run by some experienced person, the alumni preferably. And so every student gets, before graduating experience, and he gets money also. He should not do free internship. Free internship is no good. So any, company, any employer, it can be anybody. It can be the government office also, Mantralaya. It is not just industry. That who have minimum profit of 10 crore must have at least 10% of their staff, these recruits, because they are very, very innovative, and they can, and so some of them can continue afterwards. Okay. In fact, the startup idea is here. See, that is when they come back on the 14th and 15th trimester, they can work on a problem which leads to a startup company. So 2-3 students can come together and lead to a startup company. Believe me, whether it is Bill Gates or anybody else in the USA, they become entrepreneur when they even had not graduated. In fact, some of them, these are well-known cases where they left the courses. Bill Gates left Harvard. So it is not that you have to be there in the classroom to learn, but they can do that. And because this is where, instead of making job seekers, we should have entrepreneurs and intrapreneurs. Okay. This is what is very important. So the startup culture can be started by this. And this is where the alumni can help, the industries can help. And at the same time, the industrial sabbaticals for professors. In a trimester system, the teacher only will teach for 2 trimesters. 1 trimester is free for doing research, and the person can go to industry. He can get extra earning from the industry. That will develop contact. It will benefit the institute. The students, can get jobs, and they can get research projects. And that is one of the beautiful ideas. And they can definitely upgrade their skills. So this has to be done. So industrial sabbaticals, okay. Then at the same time, you can have joint degrees. You can have dual degree program, because you see, Western world has only trimester system. So if the professors there are free. They are, in fact, in USA, the professor gets salary only for 8 months. The 4 months he doesn't get salary. So he's available. So you can have them as adjunct professors. And right now there is no restriction in India to get those kind of people. I did it. So we have some of these people who can come. And so the trimester system can be extended to other universities, like-minded colleges and whatnot. Supposing you do not have expertise in one area, you can get people from another institution. Okay, then of course the placement cell and information cell, everybody talks about it, but this has to be very, very effective, because in a trimester system, the placement cell is the most important. So, and who are your contacts? Your alumni, your contacts. So you enroll all these industries over there, and then you have the students placed. So it has to be, it is like a very big organization. Placement cell is a very big organization, which is always in touch with industry. They have to place their students every alternate term. That means all students have to gain experience, and they are interviewed. So they are given the interview skills and whatnot. And particularly in this case, they can act as alliances with NGOs and social enterprises and government labs and whatnot, and including government offices. Okay. So what happens in the case of this multidisciplinarity? Because some time back, somebody said, mechanical engineer cannot get degree in civil engineer or engineering or electrical engineering. No, they can get degree in any other humanities or commerce or management or whatever, economics. They can do that. The student can have one major degree, and Professor Abdankar was talking about 50% major, another 50, you can have it. So I tried it, and our students are getting both major and minor in these 2 campuses. So that is the result of our experience in that. So you can have a design degree. You may choose different subjects. Somebody may choose music also and mechanical engineering. Or, somebody may look at politics and take mechanical engineering. But that is given, recognition. And another problem is we have lack of teachers. We don't have teachers, particularly engineering disciplines. It is horrible because the research culture is not there. How do you develop research culture? So PhD students must be taught to be professors. So they have to have, they enroll, they get fellowship, and therefore they can do alternate, terms in their own industry, institute, and they can go somewhere else. So even if they have, this so-called teachers going 3 years outside, it's a bad idea. It's not 3 years. You can send them alternate terms. So that person remains your institute. He knows what is happening, and alternate term he goes and learns somewhere else, maybe IIT or NIT, whatever. That is true for any other discipline, humanities. So that way they can have, the students can also be teaching assistants, because teachers are made from the same class of people which we are teaching. So it is better that all of them learn the techniques of education. Then industry sponsored chair professorship. Of course, this is happening, and IITs are well known about it. I did something like 23 in ICT. So it is there. And so this has to be done. And so chair professorship for different subjects or expertise should be encouraged. And for that, you have to have some mechanism. The industry does not, like to give money. So what do you do? For example, right now we have CSR, corporate social responsibility. That money cannot be used for making an endowment or trust. It can be used only as expense for that particular year. So you can have some sort of, MOU agreement with the industry, and they support every year. So it can be done. In fact, I have been saying this for a number of years, maybe now more than 8-9 years, that instead of 2% CSR, it should be 3%, and 1% should be given to higher education. And higher education is very important. And then the government support can be reduced. In fact, my personal belief is that in future government will withdraw from many other places, including higher education. So why not make our academic institutions self-supporting? Another important thing which is missing in most of the places is undergraduate research. Students from different institutions can be enrolled in undergraduate research, and during this trimester system, it becomes very, very easy. They can go to any other place, national laboratories, industries, and what, and you know, they have to do research, and they get additional, 20 credits, for instance, in the AICT model. And you can have, the honors degree, and that will also help the student, to know how to do research. Then, this is one of the interesting problems, that is, we have lack of availability of database. Believe me, in USA from 2025 and UK and rest of the Europe, they are going to have open access. That means you have to pay for the journal articles where you are going to publish. Okay, then it will open up. In India, that thing will come, and some of the predatory journals are also there. So in such cases, you cannot deny the facility to private institutions, because all students, whether they are private or government, they are Indian students. And the private students also go to some of these IITs or some other government-funded institutions. Why not share these resources with everybody? This is lacking in India. And at the same time, all students must have the ORCID ID, which is a unique ID like Aadhaar. And based on that, you can identify the student, because there are many times similar names and there is a confusion. People try to take credit for somebody else's paper, but the ORCID ID is the one which can remove these biases. Another problem which we have, if we don't value IPR. IPRs, the students of my 3P formula for everybody, I used to tell this: first patent, then publish, and then prosper. You must patent your ideas. And there are a lot of things, whether you take copyright, trademark, design, database, whatever, the IPR and then the evaluation. Unfortunately, we don't have the technology transfer office or technology licensing office in any institution, and that is required. That is required if you want to make this. And IPR studies must be, taught to all students, because they must know. It is not that only technical people or science people get IPR, even humanities, even USA, 10% of the IPR is owned by humanities. So you can see that another interesting aspect, which is not, taught in many institutions, is ethics, professionalism, moral education. In our system during this COVID period, a lot of students copied because it was online, and they never felt that they are doing something wrong. So that is the ethical problem. So we must teach them ethics, that they are not supposed to copy, and even if they copy, they should give the source. Okay. And then another interesting aspect, which I always believe true, is encouraging girls' education. In India, we discriminate girls. My personal belief, which I've been telling in many places last 10, 15 years now, that girls' education should be free till PhD. It does not mean all girls are going to be PhDs, but some of them who are capable can go to higher education. So their parents cannot stop them and get them married off as a tender age. So, and if an educated mother is the best asset, okay? And it will have a lot of economic ramifications, social ramifications. They will find their own life partners and whatnot. The population will be automatically controlled, because an educated mother would not like to have too many kids. Okay, that is a fact of the matter. So if you want to create a homogenized society and development of an egalitarian society, girls must be taught free, and there are enough funds. And even, in fact, CSR funds can be given. A lot of these things are available, and this is my personal belief. And of course, all leading institutes must have technology transfer, technology licensing offices, which I've mentioned before, so that the research is translated. It is not that the research cannot be translated, but we are not taking. So when I was the vice chancellor in ICT, I promoted patenting business. 420 patents were applied for, and many of them were even granted by the time I retired. I myself have 122 patents. You can imagine that, but you have to work a lot to maintain the patents also. You require industry support and all. So this is required. And then ultimately last is the appointment of thesis examiners. Somebody mentioned about it that, you know, one of the things is the ethical problem I told you. You should never appoint your own students as thesis examiners. I think that is degrading yourself. No former research student or relative should be appointed. In fact, it should be blind. The student should never know who is the thesis examiner. And you now, because of the internet and all, you can appoint referees from abroad. And there is a mechanism by which you can correct the thesis. So this is what is important, you know, this database, creating database. And, you know, most of the time they should be out of the state. That is something like that. And industry-sponsored postdoctoral research associate, where industry can be invited to support postdoctoral. And right now, Prime Minister's fellowship is there. Perhaps you know that FICCI and CII are involved in that. 50% of the money is given by industry, 50% is given by DST. That is in science and technology. There are 100 fellowships, but you believe me, I have 6 of the students with me right now. Many of these fellowships are not filled because the academic institutions are not able to get industry support. And in fact, that fellowship is it is exorbitantly high, something like 90,000 plus per month. So imagine, this is where postdoctoral research fellowship should be created with the help of industry. You may solve the industry's problem because no industry is going to give you free, but at the same time that will, and then of course, you know, somebody said, you know, employability, I think Mantha was talking about it, is universities are supposed to be harbingers of new knowledge, but that knowledge must, you know, help the society. And how do you help the society? Of course, your graduates must get jobs. They must get job. What kind of job they get, whether in intellectual pursuit, maybe professor or going somewhere else, that is required. And therefore, universities have to do this. Universities, and in fact, I will tell you, I have some slides on that. You know that if you, the number of PhD, the per million population is directly linked with the GDP of the nation. Directly linked with that, with the GDP of the nation. And if in that particular chart, India is at the rock bottom, far ahead of USA, China, Japan. China is in between, Japan and things like that. So it is important that we must promote this, you know, to connect with employers, and you have career counselors and all those things, which is very, very important. And then we have to prepare our students for cutting edge areas. Now we cannot say that, oh, I will not. At the same time, everybody cannot become AI. Then what happens to other manufacturing sector? Every sector is important, and that message has to be. You have to take, you know, the online courses, hybrid, AI, ML, whatever you are doing, learning models, but they have to be integrated with your main course so that the student does not feel. Right now, everybody has a mobile phone. So what it means, that has become a, you know, means of delivering knowledge. So I used to say this, and this slide I had presented earlier. In Ekalavya is the digital education model. So education, research, innovation, knowledge intensive, anybody, any place, any institute, learner friendly, anytime, any subject, vibrant, youthful, and accessible through all platforms. That is Ekalavya. We know Ekalavya through our, you know, Mahabharata and all, but this is what is important. Okay, so Ekalavya is a digital education, it's a digitally connected world. So we cannot be left behind. Our students must know that, but at the same time, that must be used. Now we are talking about ChatGPT. So and that ChatGPT and what is based on data, right? If the data are wrong, ChatGPT will give you wrong answer. So it does not mean that ChatGPT will give you correct answer. Okay, so unless Indian academia create their own IPR with participation of industry and commercialize it globally, there is no future for them in this competitive world. The Make in India mission notwithstanding, it will be doubly rewarding. By digitalization, productivity of learners will enhance multifold. So that is where we convert our new scientific knowledge into tangible products. Okay, so conclusion is academic institutes are at liberty to innovate much beyond what is documented in NEP. We should not be citing limitations of NEP. It is giving that freedom to you. How do you make use of it? So you have to initiate. You have to initiate with your students, your staff, your management. You have to convince your management, because many times the management is lethargic. Okay, then you have to innovate how you deliver the education and all, and you have to implement it. It's not just not making the policy. NEP is a policy. How do you implement it? Like, for example, NEP Maharashtra has a policy. I was a member of that committee. So what I'm trying to tell you that implementation is very important. The policy document may be very beautiful. If it is not implemented, what is the use of that document? And you have to always remember that you have to take support of industry. And in that case, your alumni are the best assets for you. And of course, you have to have incubation. So you incubate your ideas, new ideas, and then only there is a future for you. Ladies and gentlemen, I must thank Professor Narayan Marathe. He gave me literally a very short notice, and I had some other commitment. I just changed the timing. So I hope whatever I said is useful to you, and you're free to then only we can achieve excellence. That is, excellence is a habit and not act. It takes practice and perseverance. There is a systemic excellence. That is what we should work for in NEP. And there is an individual excellence, and there is an institutional excellence. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for your nice presentation and the talk as well. As regards to 11th hour thing, things are getting very pushed hurriedly, because the NEP talk was going on, then somehow for affiliated colleges, government has to postpone. So they took a very cautious stand and started pushing autonomous colleges that it should be starting from the coming year itself. And then suddenly they said that this next week would be NEP week, and they have given bunch of activities. And tomorrow there is a concluding program. We were also asked to have a concluding program separately, but what happened that yesterday UGC letter came to all principal secretaries that the Prime Minister's speech is to be telecast live. So there is no separate program tomorrow, but in every institute that speech would be telecast. So since
I understand. I know that UGC used to send us letters, and they will always come after the event is over. So I told UGC secretary, why don't you use email? Simple user. Why are you sending letters by post?
Yeah. So now they have somewhat improved. They are putting on website, so it is expected everybody should go through the website. So, sir, I think that we have come to the end, and I would like to request Abhinkar sir to say something at the end and concluding remarks. And I would like to, prior to that, I would like to thank everyone, so that after Abhinkar sir's remark, the session will come to a close.
Thank you, Narayan. I think this is a very important discussion that you had tried to organize, maybe in a hurry. But there are so many issues in the minds of the people. And I'm very happy that people have come forward and given positive inputs to most of the people who participated. I know industry people who participated would come forward. Internship is going to be one of the challenges which could be solved with the help of alumni and industry persons. This discussion should be shared with all the faculty. Probably your faculty must have been attending the discussion, so that it will be quite useful to them. And when you are forming curriculum and creating syllabi, this would be quite useful to all of them. Thanks again for inviting me also to this program. Thank you for allowing me to join the program. Thanks a lot.
Okay,
Bye.
sir. Okay. So I think I shall conclude now. Okay. Thank you. Thanks
Okay,
everyone
thanks.
again for joining the program. Thank you, sir.
Okay, bye-bye.
Yeah.
Kala.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Recording.
More.